It's so bad. It hurts so bad, dude. I'll send some pictures, but yeah, I can't lift it up right now. Wait, you mean a Hawaiian shirt and shorts like I was wearing? Yeah, that. It was hot. It was hot. What am I gonna do? Wear leather when it's hot? I wanted to cool down. There was a lot of heat, actually. Yeah. However, I did remove some of that. I did remove some of that oppressive heating epidermis on top of my dermis that was prevent keeping all the heat in, right? So allowing for maximum airflow. Yeah. True. When it was dripping down, it felt cold. Yeah. Aw. I think about the positives. I could be an advertisement for future motorcycle safety statism, like you're such in favor of, Brian. Yeah.
Like of like cars, airplanes, like vehicles.
Only when
Like
white people are driving me
chauffeurs?
around. It's
Yeah.
got to be a white
Because I
individual.
was gonna say you would think like having like I don't know a private helicopter pilot to like fly you in a private helicopter place to place would be optimum. But then Iran's president's on the side of the mountain and Kobe's on the ground, so clearly it doesn't matter what safety precautions you take.
You know what?
Yeah.
True.
Did you hear that,
I think
Corey?
I expect nothing less from Gibbs. It's like, well, there's no safety in the world, so down the lines of
there's no
coke.
guarantee of anything.
Yeah, right off
So
the
why
line,
bother with
right.
any precautions, right?
Yeah, you might as well live, bro. Live.
Condoms
Like
aren't 100% effective, so might as well just.
it's like sometimes even when you cook meat, right, you can still get sick. So why even bother, right? It
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like it's getting in the way of eating your food.
well, you can eat raw meat. You can train yourself to eat the raw.
Have you guys heard of raw water? Have you guys heard of that? Corey knows about raw water. Um, I've never had it. I've never had it. Look, I'll be honest. That even that's a bit too quacky for me. Okay. So raw water is it's like a hippie thing where it's like, oh, the modern filtration systems pull away the essential spiritual essence of Mother Gaia. And so what they do is they go out in the middle of like the forest, find like a random stream, and just like collect the water like in a big jug and then mail it to you. It has been cited as a health concern, and there have been multiple cases of like cholera and some other issues associated with it. I would advise against drinking raw water personally, but if that's your thing, true, true. Yeah, with the nitrates from their local farm. Yeah. I'm more on board with that. I'm more on board with that. I've heard that it tastes better. But I don't know. That's hot. I heard that like in some war torn areas, like in the black market, you can obtain like human meat to eat. Whoa, that actually, would you guys eat human cheese? I would absolutely eat human cheese. That sounds very fascinating. It sounds exotic. Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, it's more vegan. It's even veganer. Yeah, okay. I like it. Meat eaters are happier. Do you want to be happy? Then don't be a vegan. I like eating bugs actually.
human cheese. I'm not a cheese guy in general. I'm not like big
Oh, I
on
love
cheeses.
cheese.
Cheese is
But
delicious.
I would try human cheese. I wouldn't, but it probably wouldn't be very good, right? Because it's human milk is like has the fat content is very tiny. Like if you like compare them side by side, right? Like human milk and cow milk, right? Like in terms of
Goat milk.
I also wouldn't
Or
drink
goat-
any
I've
human
never
milk
tried
or
goat
eat any
milk
human
before.
cheese from Alabama.
Well,
that's
I've
another
had goat
prerequisite.
cheese, but I haven't had goat milk. I love goat cheese.
What I desperately wanted to do, and I've been saying this for years, right? I said it on the stream. I've said it to people in private, right? Is that one day I'm going to try camel's milk, because like it was years ago. I was like watching like PBS, like I was a child, right? I was watching PBS, and it was like camel's milk is just like 3x like what cow's milk is.
Yeah,
in terms of
when
nutrients.
do you?
Have you ever eaten
I can
camel?
get you camel's milk
Camel's
very
fucking-
easily, brother.
Camel's
Yeah,
fucking
when do you
disgusting to
want
eat, by the
some?
way.
Well, here's the thing. I haven't ordered it. I really should just get around to do it. But I had been following legislation around camel's milk for like
Yeah.
years, right? Because at first we didn't have camel stock here, but now that we do, and they're allowed to ship it, and so there are websites where you can buy this
Other
stuff.
websites where you can buy everything.
And so I'll give that a try. But do you have it like
I have
in
access
local?
Yeah, like I have access to camel milk.
You know what else is really good? Sheep's
behind the
No,
crib
I
is
just like there's places you can get the milk of our people.
Y'all ever have sheep cheese?
Have what
sheep,
cheese?
Sheep cheese, like pecorino.
I've never even heard of it.
No.
Oh, it's fucking great.
I had
It's
pecorino.
better than Parmesan. You should get it
Yeah.
next time. Like you can buy it at the Walmart or HEB or whatever, and get it instead of Parmesan. Pecorino is so much better. I promise. Life changing.
Lactoid, though. I just need to get this because I wasn't sure. Lactoid, are you pro human milk?
Yeah, I'm pro human milk for sure, 100%.
Awesome.
It's like mixing like sexuality and food, which is fantastic. It's like
You're like George Costanza from Seinfeld when he.
is that a thing? I didn't watch the show.
Yeah,
Is that...
I'm gonna post the clip. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a smart guy. We came to the similar conclusions.
Okay. All right. Yeah. George Costanza. You're no George Costanza. I would make a joke about that, but in temperament, you are absolutely no George Costanza. And I'm saying that's a good thing on your end, right? That's a compliment to you. That's what I'm saying there.
Thank you.
But okay, yeah. So I was just surprised. I honestly thought you'd be weirded out by that because it's you, and you get weird with women's bodies. So I don't know. we can move on from this.
If he was a Batman villain, he'd be the Rizzler.
Yeah. No, women definitely would like that. Yeah. Could I get some of your breast milk? Yeah, that's gonna fly over.
It's worked for me. I don't say it like that, but I lead with the question: do you think it's weird that I want to drink breast milk? And they
See, that somehow sounds worse, right? Like, how do you bring that up like on a date? Like, hey, you're really cool and everything, but like just so you.
No, I said it at random. So obviously you got to be smooth and just working in the combo.
Well, no. Here's what you say. You say let's name our top 5 kinks/culinary preferences. I'll start. And then...
No, I just ask, are you an almond milk or a regular milk person? She goes, oh my god, ew! Like I would never drink cow's milk. And then we work from there. It's like, oh, are you the kind of person like the breast milk is weird? That's disgusting. How do you think that's disgusting? Then you work it in, and now they're intrigued.
There's a special circle of hell for y'all, I think.
It's okay. Wow. But no. I'm just kind of I guess I think that it's okay. So I grew up watching sitcoms, right? I grew up watching sitcoms, and this would come up every so often, right, in a sitcom. And I was I intook that, oh, this is disgusting. But then I thought about it. I'm like, man, this is great. This is fine. So you said how does this even come up, right? You just she just has to be happily lactating, right? And then it's oh, you happily lactate. I mean, if that's the case, right? I mean,
does this happen to you often where you're just with women and they're just lactating?
Yeah, actually, it happened.
He induces that effect on women.
You have that effect. You just turn them on.
That's
so
a real
much they start
sus
dripping.
effect to have on women.
When women are lactating, right?
You might want to get that checked out.
When women are lactating, there is is with their brains, with their female brains. There is like a reaction to like a child crying, their own child crying, and like their milk will come down or let down, or whatever that's called, right? Like it's like there's like a change, like the
So you remind
the
women of their
milk will,
child crying.
like will prime itself, for.
So you remind
something
women of
to
their
happen.
child crying.
Yes. I need to be consoled. So, all right. Well, we can move past because we can move past
Don't
this.
you think it's like fascinating? Let's take a moment and like step back and look at it in the abstract. These people generate food. It's crazy. Like they're generating food. Isn't that bizarre? It's wild. It's impressive. It's
Sustenance?
Cool. Yeah, sustenance. Like the shit you get at the grocery store is made by these people. Like,
Well, they also make the thing that eats
I
the
gotta
food.
say, I'm disavowing almost everything y'all are saying.
So do fat men. They also create a lot of meat. So I'm not
That's
blaming
true.
meat there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that's different.
Long
Like
pig's gonna be good.
Like if they could like reach out and like pull off like slabs of meat and like throw it at you, sure. Like that would be equally as impressive. But like
Okay.
this is
Oh,
just
let me tell you, some people can't throw a slab of meat at you. Let me tell you. You might have heard.
you could have an ethical human farm, right? Where you like just had in Mad Max, right? Where they had all the women lined up.
Not.
Well, I don't know if that was consensual there per se. It was
I don't think
It was
consensual at all.
necessary. It was necessary, not consensual. This is a time of need.
Okay. Hold on. Maybe we can actually make a topic out of this, and we have a chosen topic, audience. If you're here,
I'm so ready for that topic. We better do that topic.
We will absolutely do it.
I watched a 50-minute video.
Oh, yeah,
50-hour video.
That was such a dystopic fucking.
You mean it was run by some lefties? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, you just wait, boys. It's gonna be good to eat tonight.
Well, we will get to it. But like, I want to see if I can make this into a topic. Okay, all right. So, we've talked about before on the a long time ago about organ donations, right? And not even organ donations, specifically selling your organs. So I've made the argument in the past that a person should be allowed to sell their organs. I didn't believe this at first, but I saw this documentary about people who actually did, like on the black market, of course, and like they're in a third world country, and like it made like a huge difference for them. So keeping that in mind, right? You may agree, disagree, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But like, what about like if there was a market for it, right? And prions were a thing. Human meat, right? Like if you could like sell a piece of yourself for human consumption, and you would get like some ridiculous amount of money for it, right? Should we allow that?
Yes.
That's gonna be a wild world, but yeah.
No,
Probably.
we don't want to give humans the taste of eating other humans and
They'll
then
get
starting to like
bloodlusted and
it.
all hell will break.
In fact, you could go right now on a curb at a roundabout close to me and eat my skin off the side of the road. It's right there.
They didn't pick it up.
You got to pick off the bits of gravel, but
Well, it's probably been cooked by now. Within the
I think
It's probably been cooked by now too. It's wonderful.
So it's nice and crisp.
I'm against a human meat market.
Well, what if it was okay? So, like, I mean, even with that, I think voluntarily, fuck it, whatever. But if they had, what about that? We talked about this one time on here. Well, you know how they have the cultures where they're making like the cow beef, beef from like the petri dishes. What if we had petri dish human meat, and you could buy petri dish human meat that way?
Oh, that
I don't want 3D. Why is everyone so obsessed with 3D printed meat? Like, what is this like urge? I think that's just not going to be good.
There's two separate. There's 3D printed, and then there's cultured, like bioreactor.
Either way, I don't want synthetic meat.
I will give you the argument for it, even though it's against my own best interest because I'm But I'll give you the argument for it that I think will actually sell me on a little bit of it. Is what marbling is? And like
marbling,
in a cow. Yeah, the meat. Yeah. So in theory, what's the best right now? Is it like A1 Wagyu is the best in beef, right? So and the reason for that is the marbling. Now, good marbling, if y'all don't know, I'm sure most of y'all do, is not when they have the big fat caps on the side. You want the little small slivers of fat throughout the beef where it's like perfect and whatever.
You want to look like this.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I'm thinking more like it looks like what's that guy that does the paintings? Where he just anyway.
Jackson Pollock.
There you go, Pollock. I couldn't think.
Jackson
Thank you.
Pollock.
Yeah, Pollock. Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
Jackson
you
Pollock.
You wanted to be distributed real tiny bits unevenly, and so it melts like butter. It with the 3D printing of the meat and some of the culture, if I understand this right, or you could probably combine the two. You could marble it. In theory, perfectly. You could put like one little bit of meat, one little bit of the fat, one little bit, and so every bite would be the perfect consistency of meat to fat ratio.
Nasty, man.
Bro, it would be. I mean, it wouldn't be healthy, but it would be amazing tasting. Like,
Wait, how do you say that's nasty as opposed to like actual slaughtered meat and all the stuff that go? Like,
I didn't say it was nasty.
No, I'm talking to Ollie. Like you probably have like fecal contamination like in your meat, probably almost certainly.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not really like a big like. I'm not really big like a mass farm dude or the factory farming dude. I'm a big halal meat
You're
guy.
like the 90% of the population that always says.
Okay, that would be halal, right?
I like halal. No, I like halal meat.
Wouldn't it
I
be
mean,
halal because you did you? It's not even slaughtered meat, so it's ethically produced. So you didn't like the whole point.
Wait, what's not slaughtered meat? Wait, what?
So okay, that's my point with what I'm
not
talking
an
about.
ethical guy.
I know, right? But it's halal. It's halal, right? It's the same thing with like the Jews. It's clean. This would be clean. This would be perfectly clean because even by the religious standards, you didn't like the. What's the reason for you the way to kill these animals? You kill them ethically and clean in the eyes of the Lord. It's the safe way, right? Well, this would be perfect. This would be exactly the same, except without having to kill the animal.
It just wouldn't taste good.
Why?
It wouldn't taste
good. It would
good.
be perfect marbling.
Because the synthetic version of everything tastes.
It's not
like
synthetic.
No, it would be perfectly. You literally can engineer it to taste. Like,
we
can keep saying that. I've had Impossible Burgers and I've had Impossible.
No, I'm not talking about Impossible Burgers. They take like a beef sample from a cow and basically they could culture that muscle and fat tissue in, so it's exactly the same protein, it's exactly the same chemical makeup, and then they can print that. So you're literally eating beef grown in a petri dish. It's like basically they do the same process the body does, but
it sounds
in a
like
lab.
Cancer. This sounds like cancer.
Culturing
you literally eat cancerous tumors while you're eating meat anyways. Like what are you talking about?
I mean,
yeah, but that's a natural cancer.
Natural cancer.
It is a natural cancer.
Natural cancer, Corey.
It's not the one. It's not the one. It's not the one that. What the fuck
well, in
is
theory,
that?
hold on. In theory, there would be no cancer because this would be perfect, like the perfect meat to like fat ratio every time, and you wouldn't have any cancer cells because it's being made in petri dish.
That's if you trust these people to give you the best quality product. I don't believe that they're going to give us the best quality product.
I don't trust anybody. I don't. Yeah. So you think I trust those fuckers? No, but I'm just giving you the argument for like the perfect meat argument.
Yeah, the ranchers are like awful. Like I mean, not Gibbs. Not Gibbs. Gibbs is actually great. But like I don't know. Like I can understand the meat industry is like full of like the worst individuals and non-trustworthy.
Well, the argument is that
you can get to know your local farmer. You can pick out the cow. You can get to know the local butcher. There's a lot you can do. Listen, my brothers and sisters. Like if you just come over to the light,
I would definitely
come over to the light of Islam. I got you. You'll have delicious flavored meat.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, I'm arguing against my own interest on this one, and I'm just trying to give like the other point of view. But like,
I see the point that you're making, but it's like, like synthetic fruits probably won't taste as good as real fruit. Like synthetic vegetables probably won't taste as good as real vegetables.
Okay, I think you're getting confused. It's not synthetic.
Vegetables like vegetables have been engineered for decades and centuries, and
taking the vegetable and manipulating the vegetable through its life. That's something different than like, oh, I'm gonna trust Peter and Henry in a lab, and then we grew a cabbage out of nothing.
Hold on.
We mixed some clone and grew a cabbage. Like no,
that's not what's happening.
It's a seed and some water and sunlight and soil.
This is dumb.
All right. Let me try to explain this a different way. All right. So what the process would be? Let's just use a human. Say you needed a new liver, or like heart or whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of giving you a mechanical one, or like a pig's one or another human's, they would take your stem cells or whatever cells, and I'm sure
they grow you a liver. That's fine.
Yeah, and they would. This is what they're doing. They're literally doing that. So that's what the meat is. It's not like synthetic. It's they took an animal previously. They got the genetic makeup.
They cloning
the meat. That's what
I don't want to eat cloned meat. I just don't think it tastes as good. I think it tastes less good.
Have you actually tried it? You said you tried it.
Yeah, like this is not.
Well, no, this is an opinion.
Wait, have you had it?
Have I had fake meat?
Yeah.
Like technically, yeah.
What do you mean
I've had
technically?
Impossible
the
beef
same.
and like.
That's- wait, that's not the
That's what I'm saying. I
clone
said
beef.
technically. I don't. I understand.
Oh, specifically, have you had the cloned meat?
Well, no.
Well, then how do you know if you don't like it?
It's just an opinion.
What?
I'm not allowed to.
It's a very
Not in-
uninformed
How do you
opinion.
know? How do you know you do like it? Have you had it? How do you know you will like it?
I don't know if I like it or I don't like it. I've never had it before,
Yeah.
so I'm reserving my opinion until I've tried it.
Oh no, I'm a child. I have an opinion. Probably it sounds icky.
As long as you're willing
Sounds
to
like
admit.
it.
I think
Yeah, wait. What? I'm sorry. I don't have to be
This is
an
why this
adult
argument
about
you're
my
making is
decision on.
This is why you have
cloned
such a
meat.
bad opinion on this, Ollie. And I'm going to tell you,
What?
like, I'm going
It
to tell
just
you,
sounds icky. What's
well,
the?
okay, let me explain why you have the wrong opinion on this, right? So,
Alright.
the only reason I'm arguing this is against my best interest,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm not even playing devil's advocate. I actually could see a market for this in which I would actually be okay with it in the rancher's meat market. And this is why. Because it's the exact opposite of what your opinion is. You would have the best cow that you had ever had. It would be like the best Wagyu beef cow, like the best tier one. It was graded, whatever. They would take the genetic makeup that and clone this meat. So not only is it not going to taste bad, it's going to be the best, most perfect taste every time. And so it should be, in theory, like higher priced than like even whatever.
It's also
right?
There's got to
safer.
be like a.
Perfect.
There's
It's
got to be
also
like a
safer.
1%. There's got to be like a 1%
I don't know about
deterioration for every time you
it's
clone this
safer.
thing.
It's safer because you don't have to worry
this is
about
like-
the same kind of illnesses happening
Mm.
with all the cows cramped into tight conditions. And I also
Sure.
heard that you can
Mm.
grow the beef cells on different substrates to get different flavored beef. It's crazy.
You also
Let's
don't
do
have like
it.
fecal contamination and all that stuff, and you
Yeah.
don't have tumors. like this,
Wait,
this
why
is
do you think
no-brainer.
you don't have fecal contamination and tumors just because they're grown in a little petri dish?
Because there's no
Okay,
poop.
well,
There's no
if you-
intestinal
if you-
system.
anus.
if you literally think it's a petri dish that they're actually growing it in, okay, like I would encourage you to, these are like.
Would it be like a
bioreactors.
large petri dish, like a big one?
Yeah, just be a large glass dish, like you get from your kitchen. Like, no, that's way more complicated, and there's way more stuff going into it than.
Well,
just,
see,
like-
okay, that's what I'm saying. Is like this sounds really, really complicated to just like I could just have a cow and then they could have a baby, and that's technically
Well,
that's like a
it's
little
compli-
clone,
Okay, it's-
right,
it's
of like the other
complicated
cows, and then they
now. Okay, this is like saying EVs are complicated, and let's not do let's just abolish EVs.
Too
and
much
everything.
science.
yeah,
involved.
wait. EVs, there's more issues with EVs than there are with like the gas
So
cars.
we should
so,
put
like,
the kibosh on EVs. Like, let's just stop right now. and not
well,
push
I
for it.
mean, if it's not going to benefit us more than it's going to help us, and it's just going to be the same bullshit, yeah, why not? I don't see the issue. Like, if we're just going to get the same bullshit but different, why are you rolling your eyes? If it's going to be the same bullshit and it's going to be worse for us to keep mining the cobalt and doing the whole thing, and then these cars don't last as
Lithium.
long because the batteries eventually drain, you got to change the batteries, and we don't have lithium or whatever the fuck it is. Like, yeah, why not just keep like
Yeah,
put
but
the
we don't know
kibosh on it
until
because we're
we
just
don't
like,
know until we try, okay? And you're like forming it. You literally, I mean, you're admitting it. Like you're like, yeah, you just have an opinion based off of like literally nothing, and just.
well,
largely
no,
just,
wait.
like,
I don't think we shouldn't be allowed to make 3D. I just don't get the hype around it, which is what I was saying. And that was like from like if you want to make 3D printed meat, I don't think it should be illegal, but like it's ew.
So are you against, let's say, vitamin D supplements and like vitamin C supplements? Like, do you think vitamin C in a pill is different than vitamin C in an orange?
I think that no,
more
I mean just
natural.
like it's just like more natural if you get it from an orange. Eat oranges.
What does
That's
natural
what God
mean?
intended. Okay, not this
Uh,
fucking Fauci shit.
I don't know, like if in a world, if in a world I have to choose from like here's a capsule that gives you all your sustenance and your nutrients for the day, or like I get to just like eat a burger and like fries and maybe a salad. Like I'd rather eat the burger, fries, and salad than have like the pill that just makes like here's your nutrients.
Yeah, those are two separate things. I'm not
No,
talking about.
it seems like the world that we're getting into is like, hey, well, let's 3D print the meat. Well, then we'll get all the same nutrients.
Okay.
Well, if we can just condense this down to a pill, fuck. And I like eating food, like delicious food.
If you
Like, this is really an argument for, like,
if you
eating
like
delicious food.
then you would like engineer something that's literally engineered to your palate. Why do you think like chips now are like so addictive? Like you literally have food engineers engineering to your
You think
taste.
when I think delicious food, I'm talking about like chips?
No, I don't.
So-
I don't know. But either way,
I'm talking about like dinners and like sandwiches.
So, but-
and, like I like
okay,
like deli,
what
like
do you mean?
meats,
Talking about
deli
dinner,
meats,
like-
steaks, chicken,
Okay,
roasted
but
chicken,
all right.
like
So
mesquite chicken, grilled chickens, like some veggies on the all. I like food. I like enjoying
the
food.
Yeah, but
veggies
all-
are so
okay.
engineered and cultivated. Like this is
The
nothing new.
engineering isn't necessarily the issue. I think the making it like completely synthetic is like the issue.
No, Ollie. So you're not understanding though.
So wait, do you think a greenhouse tomato is like worse or better than a tomato in a field?
I mean, I'm sure there's like an argument for like heirloom tomatoes that are like grown organically and like from with the best growers versus like like factory like farms and like
Okay.
greenhouses. Yeah, I'm sure.
So, Ollie, this is where I think you're
I
misunderstanding.
don't think
like,
one
a
is
lot of-
worse than the other. Like just I think some things taste
But-
better than other things.
But this is where you're going wrong. All right, so part of and I not to toot my own horn. I've been in a bunch of barbecue comps and shit. I like to cook. I kind of understand meat. It's kind of my specialty,
Yeah.
and it's part of how you cook meat and you get the wonderful flavors is due to how the meat is actually
Grown.
structured because it's a muscle, right? Like depending on how. So what I'm trying to tell you with this is you're going to get the perfect structure and the perfect genetics every time. And when you do that, it's going to give you the epitome of the best flavor every time, as opposed to, I got a lamb that was, I got this one and it was maybe not that good in this one spot, right? Like it was 99% good, but I had the one lamb shank part at the end that was bad. You won't have any lamb shank part that was bad. You're just going to have straight God tier beef. Or the beef where, you have the big fat cap on one side. Instead of having that, you're going to have the perfect marbling all the way through, and you'll be able to slice it with the razor blade. And it's going to be every single time perfect with the structure, as opposed to what you're saying, where you think it's like, some synthetic playback
so
bullshit.
here's the thing. I used to grow weed back in the days. And there's you can go pheno hunting. You can get clones. You can grow from the seed. It's more difficult to grow from seed because not every time you grow the plant, it's going to be an amazing strain. You gotta search for the right strain, then get that and clone off of that. But then eventually, down the line, it gets a little weaker, and then you got to go pheno hunting again, and you got to do it again.
This pious Muslim right here. This pious Muslim.
What?
He's growing weed, did you say?
I'm not a pious Muslim. Who told you I was pious? Who told you I was
Your
pious?
Twitter account. That's what's telling me that you're pious.
My Twitter account tells you I'm a pious Muslim?
Absolutely.
Because
He's
I
like-
understand the religion. Wait, because I understand the religion. I defend the people because I'm of the people and of the culture. That makes me pious?
Would they, hold on, if you're growing weed, are they going to consider to be part of the culture and part of the people?
They
Yeah,
like
I'm just a sinner.
hash. What do you mean? They
I'm
like
a
hash.
sinner within my religion. I understand.
What do you think?
that. I don't get
What
no
do you think
issue.
hash comes
Would
from?
they take the same stance against homosexuals? Or they're just a sinner.
Who, me? I think Muslims
a
have a huge
mortal
misunderstanding to the whole like gay why like gay sex is like a sin. I think people are idiots, and yeah, homosexuality isn't a sin in itself. Do you guys understand? Like, I think. Wait, okay. Can I run you through my opinion? This is something. Oh wait, let me write this out.
Yeah, you ever been in a-
How can you have an
gay
opinion on
sex
gay
country?
sex if you haven't had it yet?
Because I understand why it would be a sin, and like why like there's no marriage when then okay so. The only reason I think gay sex is a sin is because it's premarital sex. Otherwise, I don't necessarily think it's a sin. And then the reason they can't like get married within like the confines of a religion is because in religion, like for religious purposes, the only reason you're getting married is to have kids and start a family. And back then, I don't think adoption was this like big old merry thing. So like for God to permit a couple to get married just for the sake of like allowing their sex wouldn't make any sense. And you're getting married is to. So in the same way, being horny isn't a sin, being gay isn't a sin. But if you have premarital sex, that's a sin, and so would gay sex.
What about like on Thursdays? Is it different?
I'm okay. Not to get super like biblical,
Well, I think
but
that's
there's some very
pretty
specific rules. I'm
legit.
pretty sure
To what?
to like not do the gay stuff. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah. But like, I'm saying, like, why? Do you think it's because God's like, oh, that's icky, or do you think it's just like there has to be a reason
I
to
think
like
that's
why
a good
like
argument,
like
but
Is there a
And so,
reason why
like, yeah.
God has to do anything?
well, is there a reason? Wait, is there a reason why promiscuity is a sin? No, but we just understand that
No,
it
but
is.
here's the thing: the Bible's actually a little bit less clear on the whole promiscuity thing being bad as it is on the whole
Well,
homosexuality.
premarital sex is a sin in every like
Well,
of the, like monotheistic
honestly,
religions.
part of where the promiscuity stuff comes from.
So
if
it's
you
just
look-
like you can't, yeah. So it's like all I'm saying is premarital sex is a pretty large sin, and you shouldn't be engaged in it. And then like
Well,
that's
so-
I think it's the sex that would be like the sin. I don't think homosexuality is.
well,
like,
so
wrong.
if
Have you
if look
considered
at, like,
rebranding? Because that point is like the biggest attractor from people joining the faith. Because
What happened?
Premarital sex is fantastic.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Once you start like changing things with the faith, it just like you end up having what you have today with Christianity. It's just a whole big mess.
Yeah, like Christians selling weed or something.
You think selling weed's a problem?
For religious
don't.
people, Am I wrong on this? Is this not like a religious thing?
Well, there's
Religiously
hold on. There's
prohibited?
I don't see what's the
hold on,
issue.
yeah,
What if
well,
it-
there's
what if-
nothing in Christianity would say that religious growing weed's bad. In
Yeah.
fact, there's arguments to be made that
I might
some
be
of the
wrong on
oils that
this.
Jesus used were like cannabinoids. So he might have been
Yeah.
stoned the whole time.
And I don't even.
The sin is to
Was-
partake.
What's the
Is-
corruption? It's
hold
like
on, what's
imbibe
the-
too much.
Is marijuana like anywhere in the old
Well,
world, right? Like the
that's
Middle
a
East.
good
Like I
point.
thought that was a North American plant.
No, it comes
No,
from
no,
the
no.
mountains
I
between
know it's
India
in like North
and
North
China.
Korea grows there
Yeah, it's
too.
definitely like
Oh,
Middle
yeah.
Eastern people were
In
heavy
fact,
with the weeds.
North Koreans can smoke weed. It's one of the few things they can are allowed to do because it grows naturally there.
Sorry, what did you say, Ghosty?
Oh, I thought it did grow naturally in the Middle East.
Mhm.
Like especially like
Afghan Kush.
Yeah, if I'm,
I-
if I'm
I-
wrong on this,
hash?
I'll take the L on this. But like
I don't know.
The one that's
Well, what
North
are you wrong
American.
about?
The
Wait,
one
I
that's
just,
North.
like,
The one
you
that's
think
North
religious
American
people? Wait, once again, I'm not particularly religious. I call myself culture. I'm of the religion, and I support it. I don't think we should be banning Muslims from the countries. But like, yeah, I'm gonna defend my people when people are ignorant. But like, yeah,
Do you think Jesus ever smoked a hookah? I bet he smoked a lot of hookah.
I don't think.
Okay,
Jesus
all right.
did.
Sorry. Hold on, let's reset.
Let's
right?
get back to the
So,
black market
human meat.
organ meat. Yeah.
Yes, that's where I wanted to take this. Ghosty.
Yeah.
So you've heard all these arguments for lab grown meat. What if like we go through the whole process of doing lab grown meat, and it's failure after failure. The one meat that we can grow for whatever reason is human meat, right? And if we grow enough of this, right, we can transition humanity off of like a regular meat, like a cow meat or whatever, right? Those baby cows, which I love to eat, veal, right? We don't have to do that anymore. We could just use human baby meat, right? But like, lab grown. So in that case, would you be supportive of it?
and for some reason it worked for us, but no other animal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something's just telling me that this isn't a good idea. But
What's telling you? Explain.
her soul.
I don't know. I don't know if I have a logical explanation for it, but I don't know if like we should get a taste for like human meat regularly in our diets. Like
I have the perfect
But-
solution. You eat the meat when it's only a couple weeks old, then it's not a human; it's just a clump of cells.
Oh yeah. So
No problem.
I want to follow up with Prime. Okay, where you said you eat
Super
veal.
veal.
So if or when we get to the place, or at least we're going to, probably in the next 5-10 years of artificial wombs. Okay, like so.
Baby meat.
Yeah, is that on the table? Is that on the menu for you in the artificial
Super
womb
veal.
world?
Super veal.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I don't understand how you're connecting this. Are you saying would I'm okay with growing my child in an artificial womb?
Or
No, would
not,
you
not
eat- would
necessarily
you eat-
yours, any
would you eat
child
baby
of like
veal?
whatever your line is of like I will grow it to 18 weeks and then there's my human veal or whatever my equivalent is.
and then eat it.
Hold on. I'm a little confused. Am I like raising this child or am I eating this child? Like, which one are you talking
Artificial
about? I just
womb.
don't know.
There's an artificial womb
you would
where
be,
we're making meat.
yes, exactly.
And you get to grow the age of the meat, and you're like, I wonder what an 18-week-old would taste like. And so you grow this meat to the specification of an 18-week-old, and then you're like super veal, just slicing and
If
delicious.
it's a blob
go
of
too
meat if it's a blob of meat we're talking about, that's fine. I wouldn't like grow. I wouldn't like take sperm cells and egg cells, put them together, grow them, and then eat them. No.
See, then it's not going to taste the same because I feel like the piece of meat only
Oh my
tastes
God,
as good because it's
I'm
lived a
ignoring
life, it's walked around, it's done its thing, it's eaten a certain like digestive like meal. Like that's why Wagyu's so good. They massage the cows, the beer, the whole like leisurely cows.
I do think even though my soul tells me it's wrong, like if it did end up solving the problem that we have with factory meats, I mean, I'd rather go with like what Gibbs was proposing. I think that idea sounds better.
Just localized farms. We just need to stop factory farm. We don't have to.
I agree, but nobody wants to do that.
I knew we'd convert her eventually. I knew we'd get her.
Also not sustainable.
What do you mean not sustainable?
If you
Just
think
have
you
more
can-
farmers.
I'm not going
Wait.
to touch that.
I
Or-
disagree
or-
completely
no,
in
what-
our
We don't
diet.
need
I'm
more
being for
farmers,
real,
or
I'm
I
being-
could just buy more. You could
Yeah,
just,
you just don't know
make
enough.
me
Like,
more
there's just
profitable,
wage.
and then we could just have several big farmers. That's
Oh, wait, the
what we
only
need.
way we can eat is if we have a factory of
Well,
farming. We can't have like more farms in
why do you think
states.
factory farming is implemented now, currently in our supply chain?
Also, define factory farming. I want to know
Because
what
people
y'all
can
think
make
that
money, and
is.
it's an easy way to do things. It's a simpler way of doing things. So they.
What do you mean by
make
simple?
money
Like, okay, can you unpack simpler? What do you mean by
So
simpler?
you consolidate something. It's within a factory setting. It's not like you have to personally farm and grow. You don't give a fuck about these animals. You literally just treat them like.
So start naming reasons as to why this has been implemented on a mass scale.
It's simpler for the people to have mass animals,
Money?
kill them and package them in the factory and ship them out. It's simpler.
Simpler doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't know what you mean by simpler. Like, can you add some more descriptors to that?
Okay, so rather than having multiple farms in cities and states and people to run them, this consolidates everything into one location. You can then grow these animals in kind of horrific conditions.
Yeah,
It
so
wouldn't
why,
really
why do
matter.
they not
And then-
why do they not stick with, let's say, cows on a ranch? You know, that you see in the McDonald's commercials. Why would not
because
stick with that?
you consolidated all the areas. It's
You can have a big
easier
ranch,
and
though.
faster to do. I mean, you could have multiple ranches, and that's what I'm saying. The solution should be
So
people
why,
with the money.
why didn't they do that though? Why?
Well, because
why
I
not?
would assume the original farmers decided it would be easier for them to do more animals in
What
an
do you mean
and one.
easier? You're using just
I'm
like,
so-
I don't know, like nondescript
Okay.
words. Easier and simpler. Like,
Machinery.
So
the
if
machinery that processes-
if I was a farmer back in
Like,
the day and I
so,
made a lot of money,
I will try to
and then I was
distill
like, I can do this in a smaller area
Okay.
faster with machinery
Oh, okay.
that does it. I can grow
Sure.
them in conditions like that's what I mean by easier.
Okay, so I will try to simplify. I'll try to help you out. Why do
The
you
same
think
way that, like,
company-
the-
Why do you
yeah.
think? Why do you think companies automate? Okay, did you say they automate because it's simpler? Is that like an accurate description of why companies automate?
They get to pay less. It is simpler to operate
Keep
because
going.
you don't have human
Stop
error.
using the word simpler. It doesn't mean
Why?
anything.
That means a lot.
Okay,
Why doesn't
so
it mean
you
anything?
think that is a valid argument? Companies
I think that's
automate
part of
because
the
it's
argument,
simpler.
Well,
Okay,
it's part of
great.
the reason why
And
they do
very
it.
intelligent argument.
Well,
I mean,
explain
well,
something.
wait. They
Wait,
save
wait, wait,
money.
wait, here, I'll do
It's- wait.
it's
wait,
less
they save-
complex,
They
Corey.
save money. They don't have work costs.
Yeah.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
keep going, keep going.
Where to
So-
automate, and then those are really the reasons.
So
I see
what
why
are the
they do it.
advantages? Why do companies opt to automate?
So they don't have to pay people to work.
Okay, so there's profits involved.
multiple
okay,
reasons,
there's
yeah.
a financial incentive. Okay,
Yeah.
they can reduce labor costs, all that stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
I said that's cheaper. That's what cheaper is.
Well,
It's cheaper for them to have
versus
robots.
labor. Yeah, you also start off with just like simpler, which doesn't really mean anything in this context. Okay, so now can you apply maybe some of those same descriptors when it comes to factory farming in terms of they can reduce labor costs, they can increase profitability, and there's financial incentives for them to literally factory farm and automate
I said
certain
it's
things.
cheaper for them to do. They make more money. Like, I mean, if you want to just use like the educated words, I got you. They reduce labor costs because they don't have to have as many workers on a field, and also they reduce the work tension, whatever the fuck it would be. It's just like, they have things in a smaller area. It's running by machinery.
It's more
getting-
efficient. We can use also words like
so
that.
yes, easier.
Okay, as in to supply food to, let's say, 8-9 billion people on the planet.
Out
okay.
of one location, yes. This is the best way to do it, to supply out of one location a bunch of food where you don't have to have humans working, and you just have a bunch of machinery doing the work for you at a rapid speed because there's little to no human error.
Yeah, and you think going back to the reverse of just like large ranches, you think we could have the equal amount of supply, and companies will be on board with that in terms of profitability and labor costs and
Well,
efficiency.
no, we don't know. It's because companies can make money factory farming that we have factory farms that exist.
Okay,
Well, hold on.
so-
What are y'all? Just to be clear, you go ahead.
Hey,
Corey. I want one of y'all.
He was just mad at the word simple. I'm sorry,
No,
but
no,
that's
I don't. I don't
you
think
just use bigger words for
hold
simple.
on. I don't think bro, my brain is starting to hurt. It never hurts. I'm just hearing the ag. Well, I just want one of y'all to give me, and I hate to be Fabian Liberty, but please, one person give me the definition for what a factory farm is. Like,
Sure,
just anybody can give me a good definition. And then y'all go ahead back.
I can
with
give
y'all
you a
did. I don't-
description, not a definition.
Yeah,
like
listen,
descriptions
you know,
more.
I don't give it. Yeah, whatever floats my boat. Just give me something.
And go into the
big-ass
history of
farms
the
where,
description
where
as
the
well.
animals are hanging by the chains and the dudes are wearing the lab coats, or the ladies are wearing the lab coats, and then the animals are being hanged by the chains and they're getting boiled and sliced and diced and just there's blood. Yeah, that's a factory farm.
That's a butcher shop, bro. That's
No,
every
the
butcher
big
shop
old-
that's existed in the last like 200 years. Like,
No, having an animal hanging in the back cooler while like a butcher
how do
has
you
like
draw-
drugs out the meat. That's
Like
different
mass
than like
production of
Oh my
farm animals.
Not
I
okay,
don't
yeah,
know.
that's more not whatever he just said. Okay, so like when you say that, what do you mean by what do you image conjures up in your head?
There's like
factory machinery.
there's like assembly lines.
You have to know the specific type of machinery, the
let,
code.
let Ghosty do it.
There's some kind of like assemblage and like factory that ends up mass producing different types of meats from a farm.
When you say produce, you like do you think they're making it there or do you think they're like buying it from like a ranch?
They're making it there.
Okay.
They're like
One of both.
Okay.
Either they have their own ranches where they're growing the animals, or they are buying overstock or whatever the fuck they can
So
from
if
others.
they're buying it from a ranch, what do you think is a factory ranch or like an industrial? Can you differentiate that between that and like a normal rancher? Like, what is the difference there? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
I guess no. I'm more concerned with like the production and in like the like so
That is the
like,
growing the animal is the production.
Okay, so let me try to move this ahead because it seems like it's gonna take forever, right? So I'm gonna engage with Gibbs on this. And maybe Gibbs is a rancher, so of course he can educate me on this. So I'm really curious, right? So my understanding of this, right, when we're talking about factory, I guess factory ranching would work better, but we call it factory farming. But whatever, right? Like, is that rather than having animals like out in an open field grazing and all that, right? Like, and exercising, get in the sun and shit before the end comes for them. You have them in like small spaces, right? Like within like these large complexes. They live their lives in small spaces because it's more space efficient where you can feed them. They can they live there, they shit there, all that stuff happens. And you impregnate them, and then they have the kid. But then you put that child into another area. But basically, they're in a very controlled environment, and rather than any more of like a free roaming thing, right? So would that count as a level of factory farming?
Okay, yeah. So that is, I guess, what I'm trying to get the distinction right here, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Prime. So thank God. So here's where I'm going with this, because I don't think that y'all really understand when when people say what a factory farm is like a highly misconceptualized thing. I think people that don't understand like ag like really get these things confused. And they think that I'll use like milk. We were talking about milk earlier, right? If you have like a milk factory farm, right? What happens is you have to have given birth at some point in their life, and after that they produce milk pretty much forever. And the way cattle are happy is if they're chewing their cud, and if they're able to like walk around and like then they're basically happy. That's how you know, right? It's real simple. If they're not chewing their cud, something's wrong with the cow. And so when you get like dairy cows, you would have what you call like a factory farm, like what you described, right? You would have them in like a big area, and they'd be sectioned off, and then they would be able to wander the little area, and then they would go to their thing, and they'd be milked once a day because if they don't milk them, it's a problem. And this is actually humane and good for them. Now people take issue with this because they see a giant covered shed building, and they think these cattle are being like abused. But for dairy farming, that's the optimal way to do it, and that's the most humane thing because you don't want to have to round these up free range. Now, for what you're talking about with industrialized beef, that's totally different. You would never do what y'all are describing as put these cows, except for veal, that's the exception, which we're not going to pretend that's humane. But like for like the factory farming, like y'all are describing, you would never have like cattle do that because what happens with it, it tends to be cheaper, and this is why they have the cubes, and you supplement their diet with the cubes, and then some of them will bring them in once in a while for like the steroids and stuff. But what generally happens in industrialized farming is you'll have like 5 plots of land. And it goes throughout the year. So it's like you have like one for every quarter, or about like every I don't know. It's not it's a little more than a quarter, but it's like 5 plots of land. And you'll start, one of them is going to be the last plot of land where you offload them to the slaughterhouse. And the slaughterhouse is what Ali described, but the only difference between a slaughterhouse and a butcher shop is basically industrialized scale. So they're doing the exact same thing at a slaughterhouse versus at a butcher shop. So there's actually really no distinction there. Now, when you're talking about the 5 plots of land, you will actually have them free roam from one, and when they eat out of that area, you move them to the second area, right? and then you move them to the third area, and they go. And by the time they reach the last area, they go out, and then you like separate the ones that are the heifers that are grown and the steers, and you ship them off, and then you start the process again, because they'll give birth about the third area or fourth area if you time it right. And you can actually have about 2 herds do this on a plot of land. Right. And that would be like the industrialized agricultural style farming that y'all are kind of referring to. And it's kind of this misconception that you're going to see, whatever. Now, when they show you these crazy shots of all the cattle at one place, those are actually distribution centers where they've taken the cattle from my plant or my ranch, and they've taken them there, and you'll see like 2 million head of cattle, and there'll be these small pens, whatever, and they're only there for about 3 days, and that's before they get shipped off to different slaughterhouses or different production facilities like HEB, Walmart, or Tyson, or whoever, and that's where you see this. So you get this misconception where these people will go to like the distribution center, and they're like, this is the environment they live in, which is not actually feasible, because they would all die of like different issues, because cattle are very like, despite their kind of like, you know, big nature, and they're pretty resilient when they're like healthy, if they get stressed, and like then they die very quickly, and disease runs rampant really fast. Then that's why, like, because they are dirty animals, they shit on themselves.
How many of them
that's a problem.
Like, how many of them get slaughtered? All of them, or
For the industrial beef, usually you do elderly heifers, you do about 2-year-old steers, and then you do and you keep a few steers for like protection, and then you keep and usually they're about 1.5 to 3 years old, and then you have like 6 breeding bulls, and you never fucking kill the breeding bulls. Well, that's what we got on our ranch, for depending on how many herds you got. And it's like, if you have more breeding bulls, then you're some rich fucker. I don't know. I've never like you know, but I have, and that's kind of the goal for like a good head of like, I don't know, 5,000 cattle, right? Like that's kind of the setup you'd want. And then they kill most of the 2-year-old steers, and they kill like the elderly heifers. And so I don't know, it's about 1/3 of a herd each time.
So 2 questions. One, like, can you explain protection to me? And then 2, I want to talk about other animals, because when I think about factory farming, what's in my mind, like when I was describing that, I was thinking of pigs being like in those pens like for forever, right? Like and I've seen that, but then again, maybe I'm being propagandized here. Maybe I don't understand.
The pigs are a little different. Well, the protection thing I'll do first, and then I'll do the pig, because protection's easy. So like cattle, they're herds. The breeding bulls are alphas, but they're dicks, right? So they come in there, they breed with the cattle, and then they usually kind of wander off by themselves. And they're big, and they're like massive animals. So they're usually like 2,600 pounds. Nothing is gonna fuck with a breeding bull. Like, it doesn't matter, right? But the steers are only about 1,600 to 2,300 pounds generally, right? And so like almost a ton, like for like whatever, like I might be wrong on that, but like yeah, like they're big, but they're not as big as the bull. And so you'll get like they'll kind of like line up, and what happens is like coyotes and mountain lions will try to kill the calves, and so they'll like kind of make like a ring around the heifers. So you want like them to protect the herd, or like that's at least what we do, and that'll stop your predation problems quite a bit. Like, you don't want a ton of them, but whatever. And I definitely fucked up the size numbers, but yeah,
thank you,
they're bigger.
I appreciate it. Yeah, all right, well then, yeah, so pig farming, like that's like, in my mind, that's where I imagine there's like these like relatively tiny pens where these pigs just live and create a tremendous amount of shit. Like, yeah, in places that are prone to disease spreading and all that, and all the worst ideas of factory farming come to pig farming.
Well, so with pigs, it's different because they're such highly socialized animals, and they don't like to travel. What do they like to do? They like to rut. So you put them anywhere, they're gonna rut. They're gonna like tear up the ground. They're gonna like whatever. And if they get wild, and this is the problem with pigs, is they're too fucking smart, and 2, they are aggressive in like wide spaces, right? And so especially when they get in groups. That's why like javelinas are such a big problem in Texas. That's why wild hogs, that's why what's his name from Game of Thrones died of a wild hog attack, right? The tusks on him, whatever. And like pigs are omnivores, so they eat anything. Like that's like, the mafia, they throw it in. So with them, you have to put them in confined spaces. Otherwise, if they get out, then they revert back to more of the feral things. And so you can have a pretty big space for them, but they like to be in like tight companies, and they like to like rut and destroy their little area. It's just kind of what they do. So I don't really know how you would make now I guess if you put them in really tiny spaces, that would be fucked up. But like they want it, like it probably looks more inhumane than it actually is, because you'll have like, I don't know, 20 head of pig in like, I don't know, a relatively small area, but it's because they're so social and they would prefer that over them being like lonely and like only having like 1 or 2 pigs in there. Like, so I don't know.
Like,
It's just kind of fine
but
line.
as opposed to like a herd of pig, I guess they don't herd in the same way, right? But just like
Yeah.
having them in a wide open space. I hear you in the rutting, right? And them like getting to the ground, but like if they had like a wide open space where there are plenty of other pigs and they're just like pigging around, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I don't know. It depends on what you're calling, how much wide you like space you need. Like, I mean, obviously you put them in like a 9 by 9 foot room and you put like 10, 12 pigs in there. That's probably not cool. But if you have like, something the size of like a football field and have like 30, 40, 50 pigs in there, or
Yeah.
like maybe if they're 75, that's probably, almost way too much space. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. It's just kind of like by the numbers and how many you're putting
I
in
just
there.
have to actually look into it and
one,
have a better idea. Go ahead, sorry.
The one other thought that comes to my mind when I think of this is like the force feeding of chickens and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
that's a little
always
fucked up, but I
see
don't, I
that.
mean, that's
don't
also like
know about that.
depends on who you go with on those, like what companies.
Yeah. I just always see those chicken trucks when I'm driving through Virginia. It makes me sad.
You're in lactose neck of the woods.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think it might be fair to say like people's, and we see this all the time, right? Where people's idea of an industry is like incorrect. The problem is like it's hard to tell like who's giving you like good information, on these things, right? Like you want to because like obviously a corporation has every incentive to make it seem like whatever they're doing is humane and only up and up. So it's like difficult to trust that. But on the other hand, you can also have activists who have like a financial incentive to make you think whatever is happening there is like wrong and evil, and so that you should donate money to their group to stop the thing, right? So they like exaggerate like the destructiveness of
Well, a really good
I don't
example of that in
know.
ag is the horse slaughter debate that's happening right now in the United States, whether or not it should be legal to be able to sell horse meat and whatnot. And because it used to be, I think it's legal, but now they took away the ability for them to like the FDA can't approve it. So like you basically can't get horse meat in the United States. But along with some of the those restrictions, it's led to a problem with ranchers. They basically have to justify when they kill a horse now, and so sometimes that leads to where like if they get a guy out there that says you can't kill this horse, then the horse will suffer like and just be like laying there getting bed sores because they won't let him kill it. And like that, I think that's pretty inhumane. But like. They would argue, well, at least it's alive, and it's like, well, if your existence is literal hell, I don't know, is it more humane to just let them just like, I
Back
don't know.
to the human farms, yes, right.
Yeah,
So we got old people around,
Mhm.
and they're not doing so great. And so why not offer them the ability to one to be taken taken like out of this mortal plane, and then having like the money go to their grandkids or whatever the fuck, right? Or maybe taking a limb, right? I've had arthritis in my left arm this entire time. Well, we can take care of that part for you, right? We can just get rid of that and high price sell that arm meat. Are we in favor?
I think it's gonna be a crazy world, but like, I mean, sure, fuck it.
Okay.
I'm on the fence.
Elderly
Ghosty, I think you're
people
muted.
Yeah. Are you talking about elderly people meat?
Yeah,
Anyone.
sure.
Soylent
Well,
Green,
anyone,
baby.
but like, yeah,
Soylent Green.
including
I
elderly.
just don't think selling human meat is like a good idea. But I mean, again, if it solved the other problems, like I'd consider it. But it doesn't.
No,
I
what
just have
if
a gut feeling it's like a bad idea.
It doesn't solve any problems. It's that like people want to, and like you can make money, right? You can make money, like life changing money, for people. But like you just gotta give up an arm or a leg.
Literally,
Genuine
but-
question, real quick. Sorry, go ahead, Corey. This is related. It's a little bit of a topic change that I want to know.
Okay, well, so like in principle, I can like get on board somewhat Prime, but my concern is like if it becomes like an actual market and whatever a free market, then to me it's just like a race to the bottom in terms of like, well, now like Me selling whatever my kidney, like that's valuable because there's not many other people selling a kidney. But then if there's like thousands of people, well, it's like yeah, and then it's like the lowest bidder. Pretty much same thing with whatever. If there's no minimum wage, then like you just generally just a race to the bottom.
That's interesting. And I'm actually curious what Lacto would say about that. If we have a larger market for this, if we just allow this, like in terms of organ donations or
supply
organ
demand
selling, right? And so, like if, like, yeah, and so the documentary I saw, right, was about like life changing money, right, in terms of like what it provided. But what if because the market was flooded, then it wasn't, and there's going to be some person who's willing to give a kidney for like a very moderate amount of money. Is that okay?
Yeah, then that's the cost of that organ, right? If people want to sell it for that amount.
And would you? Well,
Like
so and
anything
also
else, like
I
anything
also have
else.
another concern of like if it's like now a global market. Okay, I don't necessarily want I have concerns about people having children just for the sake of extra organs around.
Well, this is actually the question I was going to ask, because I can agree that killing children is wrong, and so we shouldn't allow the organ trade. In order to prevent the likelihood of children being killed, we should require organ trading be documented, right? There needs to be some kind of like traceable history to, oh, this person consensually gave their organs or whatever. And then like there's some kind of, we can even put it on the blockchain. Okay, we can make it super high tech. I love it. But a question I had for you, Prime. We've had a conversation about abortion before, and your argument was that it becomes like a person when it passes through the vaginal canal. Like this is the prime event. Would you have a problem with, let's say, a factory like having like 1,000 women in it, and they all agree, they all volunteered to do this, and they just cycle pregnant and then like get an abortion at like just before birth? Like let's say they live in Minnesota, Tim Walz is Minnesota, where you can get an abortion right up until birth, and then they made it into food. And they turned it into like like meat or
puree,
like little snacks.
That's my question with the artificial wombs. But yeah,
right. Well, this is not artificial wombs. This is like actually, this could theoretically happen tomorrow. Like we have the technology to do this.
Wait,
would you have any problem with this, Prime, whatsoever?
Prime, you don't agree that vaginal birth is the
yes, he does.
Defining fact? Do C-sections not count? I'm so very confused
C-sections
about
count.
this.
No, C-sections are fine.
Well, that's what Lactoid's presenting is a C-section.
Well, okay. Oh yeah, that's what you. Oh yeah, I guess that's what you're presenting.
A day before due date, abortion is just a C-section.
Yeah. It's like it's the body, and so
Okay, you liquefy it in the mother, like in the woman's body, and then you like siphon it out, and then you turn it into an energy drink, right? We can call it adrenochrome workout fuel, and it's sold to like
you'd have to
Andrew
scare the
Tate
baby
fans.
first.
Would you be okay with this being sold? I'm just out of curiosity.
Well, I mean, it's as exited the woman's womb, and so like we've got like a corpse in our hand.
Well, no, you wouldn't consider like a stillbirth or like a miscarriage, a baby just because it passed through. If they did
right,
if it did, so you wouldn't technically. It's not the passing through. It's not a bullet you want to bite. Destiny's made the best argument, I think, for so far as the consciousness at 20 whatever weeks, but like.
But that's not the standard that Minnesota uses, and that's not the standard that I've heard from Prime.
I know.
I'm asking specifically, can I, Lactoid, an entrepreneur, start a baby smoothie factory? Is this okay? Well, sorry, baby is loading it. Baby is loading it. Fetus smoothie factory.
Excuse me, fetus smoothie. Okay.
You call it clump of slushy.
Clump of slushy.
Clumpy slushy.
I actually, so I didn't really get to respond to her, but like, back to Ghosty just for a quick second, and that like, I was pressing her, but I don't think that her, or I do think that her argument, that it sets a bad moral precedence to like eat humans. I think that's like it was a pretty good one. right? Like, and that like it's damaging to society. So I'm going to expand on Ghostie's answer. I'm curious if she'd agree with me on this, right? But like, it has deleterious effects on society if all of a sudden humans are considered to be food, right? That like I feel like there's a whole bunch of knock-on effects, some that we can see probably a mile away, and others that we probably would not be able to. If all of a sudden in society it was normalized to be like eating these either babies or larger humans or even zygotes, right? Like, so again, remember, I'm fine with calling abortion murder, right? You know that about me, Lactoid, right? I've said that to you many times, Lactoid. I've said this to you many times. I've said it to you many times.
I think you're misusing the word murder.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Oh, sorry. I mean killing. Excuse me. Killing. Excuse me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sorry. I did say that. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, killing. Yeah, but like killing. So like that's a life that you're taking away, right? Yeah. And so I like, and on that note, right, that we're still killing a human within the womb. I don't think it would be any better for society if we started, ingesting these things. I think it's one thing to use, like just like we use for adult humans, right? Like use a body for science, right, to accomplish like a thing. That's one thing, right? We're extracting some like greater utility. But there is a difference when we're talking about food. I mean, I guess it's utility as well, but I think that's different. Consuming human flesh. Do you agree with what I said, Ghosty, so far?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I think food is a very important utility. In fact, like you could save a lot of lives with my patented Klumpo smoothie that we could send to Africa. Like, think of all the children there who are starving. And if they had,
there's other ways to do it. Thank you.
If they had Klumpo
I think
smoothies,
there's other solutions first.
But you're literally just describing corpse starch from.
Well,
they're describing corpse starch.
Yeah, you're saying there's like other solutions, but like I don't understand why we can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, right? You can pursue those other solutions, but let's say I find it to be more efficient. To liquefy feti and use them in my smoothies to ship them overseas. Let's just turn we're talking about very nutritious, rich smoothies at this point.
This would be
a lot of stem cells. In fact, this might help overall health. In fact, it might be the reason why some people in society are living so long. But
this is the most white liberal thing you've ever said. To me, all right, the most white liberal. I'm helping the Africans, right? I really care, and so this is the way I know it's best for the Africans. So
I'm so ready for
that's
this
a very
now.
white liberal way of doing it. Not a white conservative way of doing it.
No, you're right.
Not a white conservative way of doing it because they just wouldn't care in the first place, right? But a white liberal way of thinking of things.
You're right. In classic colonial mindset, I'm in favor of helping African children. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not in favor. I think.
In fact, even better. In fact, what we could do is we could expand reproductive freedom into Africa and then create a self-sustaining Klumpo smoothie industry right there in Africa.
That's a terrible idea.
Oh, this is such a perfect segue to the next topic.
I think it's a modest proposal, right? I think he's really thought of this, right? Written it out. I think that maybe another path would simply be like growing the industry of nations that are like developing, so they're like have developed, and so they
what
can.
What better way to do that?
We got to the next topic. This is all the things I want to talk about. This next topic too.
Okay, all right. So
breast milk and obliterated fetus tissue, and in a. Would you not drink it, Prime? What would be morally wrong with drinking this under any of your worldviews? I don't understand what would be wrong with drinking this.
Drinking a fetus, everything that I just said, though. I've said, but I've laid it out why.
But why is the like you hinted this might cause this to massively industrialize, but the question is why is that necessarily a problem? If as long as we have government regulations to make sure all the women there are fairly paid. Maybe
from the fetus.
Yeah, maybe even more than fairly paid, right? And so all of them are there on their own whim. They're all paid a lot of money, and then we can just harvest the fetus as they pop out.
It'll also
Um,
cause a black market. There will be a black market that inevitably comes from
Well, no,
this.
we reduced the black market because now we created a legal supply. Same with drugs, right? The reason the black market
Yeah,
for
yeah.
drugs exists is because we banned them. You guys are actually the ones creating a black
no,
market
Already
for
a
fetus
natural
milkshakes.
supply of drugs. There's already natural drugs everywhere. Just like there's already a supply of drugs. There isn't a supply of fetuses
Yes, there
just
is.
ready to eat.
Yes, there is.
So-
There absolutely is a supply of fetus. It's very
actually,
easy to make
local
them.
Planned Parenthood. You'll find a supply. Of
Yes,
fetuses.
absolutely. 1 in 4 women in the
yeah.
United States. Yes, there is a
That's
readily,
not
there is
a-
a readily available supply.
So, sorry. What was? Could you repeat your question? To me.
I'm just curious, like under your system, like even if this becomes like mass industrialized, as long as it's properly regulated by the government, okay, what would be your problem with like Clumpo Smoothie Inc. starting a factory in which they're just harvesting fetus that come from pregnant women and then turn it into smoothies that we use for our daily nutritional needs?
So yeah, same thing for a reason why I wouldn't allow slavery, right? Just there's some human activities that even if like you consensually like went into slavery, right? There are situations where a person could do that, right? They consensually went into slavery, like that would be something that like I would not allow.
Okay,
Like,
let me change
it
it.
has a deleterious effect on society.
Let me change it then. Let me change it. How about
Okay.
instead of hiring the pregnant women, I just make a contract with Planned Parenthood to take their leftover like bio remains that happens after abortion. That's going to happen anyway due to like women's choice or whatever. And then I turn those into the smoothies and I sell them on the street.
Again-
Assuming
You know, this
FDA
is-
regulation, is this okay?
I know again what I said, but I addressed this already, right? I said like when it comes to consuming humans, right? Like that is like the moral hazard. I'm not sure if that's the best term I want to use here, but the moral hazard to society is so great that it would outweigh any benefits.
What's the moral hazard?
That again, maybe I'm using the term incorrectly. I do apologize if I am. But it would be that humans are now an option for food. That like this
Commodity.
is a thing that
They're not
like, should be normalized.
I have a
Oh,
better
okay. No,
okay,
they are
I
humans.
see. I see.
just
Okay,
think
so what you're saying is that like, so you this is curious then actually. So you would apply the normalization moral hazard when it comes to consuming them, but not the moral hazard consideration when it comes to killing them.
Yes, because at that point they're still attached to the woman. It's a woman's body, and so like in her life, that's attached to that as well. And so I'm giving her primacy there. But like once they're outside of the body, there is no reason that human society needs. If maybe we're
What if she
living
could get paid to give?
maybe
the-
we're living in a
Get the
post-apocalyptic
abortion.
world where there is no other food options. I guess that changes things, right? And then the only way society can continue is if we eat these aborted babies, right? Then
No,
okay,
no,
then
no.
that's one thing. But like
Stem
if
cell
it's
smoothies.
not the case, right? Then there's no reason for society to be engaging in this, right? And that the effects, the negative effects outweigh any positive benefits we would get. And so I wouldn't be for it.
Lactoid,
okay.
that's
Like,
the
I'm
better
being
sell, by
pretty
the way.
clear
You
here.
sell them as stem cell
Okay,
smoothies.
I'm gonna one last hypothetical.
Okay.
Let's say we do my policy and we run like a study on it, and it
Pilot
shows
project.
and the study shows that there doesn't appear to be any like of the moral hazards realized that you're talking about. Like
Okay.
people tend to not want to like eat other humans or whatever. It is very limited to just the fetus shake, and in fact, it does like help resolve a lot of nutritional issues in younger children who have access to this nutritional shake because there's stem cells and other forms of like highly nutritious elements within this
Yeah,
smoothie.
yeah. I hear.
And the empirics demonstrated this. Now, would you be okay with my industry?
Okay, maybe if I can give 2 answers here. One, I think you could probably find examples. I can't think of anything on the top of my head right this moment. That things that are like morally disastrous but have positive benefits. that like our society decided that this just isn't worth, even though there would be positive benefits, that it could be so morally disastrous, and this could fit into that. So there's that. But then, secondly, if it wasn't, I guess, yeah. So it could still be morally disastrous. But then beyond that, I guess if there's just complete like benefits to society, right? I guess sure, maybe. So I'm splitting the baby. I'm not really giving you.
Yeah, you are splitting the baby. That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have a
me.
much better solution. Okay, if we want to talk about like an apocalyptic, I can't say that word. An apocalyptic, yes, situation, where we need to make more people and feed people. All we have to do is get a bunch of women to volunteer to get pregnant, and then feed everybody their placentas, which we know is very nutritious and is edible. And then we're making more babies. We're not killing babies, and we have food to go around for everybody.
Nah, that
So
shit's
if you
gross.
really want to feed people, you can just, feed them that.
Hell
Now you're just
nah.
being ridiculous.
I don't know, man. I think it'd make a pretty good hot dog. Well, you don't think that you don't want to try like a placenta dog?
Hell
Come on.
nah. Nah, absolutely not. Gibbs, you disgusting motherfucker.
No,
What are you
hold on,
talking
hold on,
about?
listen.
A placenta?
No,
That smelly
hold on,
shit
hold
that
on.
like the
I won't drink breast
afterbirth?
milk.
Oh my
I won't-
Yeah,
god.
bro, hold on,
Breast
hold on.
milk,
I eat a lot. Bro, you ever eaten oysters? They don't exactly smell good. How about calf fries? Those are good as fuck too. Like, what are you talking
Oh,
about?
yeah, you mean the liquid snot in a half shell? Absolutely not. What are you doing?
No,
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
oysters are amazing. This man, he's got no culture. That's what it is.
20 minutes of opining about like smoothie babies. Placenta.
Placenta's too much for like a weak stomach over here, bro.
He's like, baby is delicious. Adults, ew.
Bro, it's the afterbirth. You're going to be eating the
Post-maternal?
afterbirth. What the fuck?
Why, you just don't like the name?
It just reminds him of pregnant
Yeah,
women.
that's
That's
what
all.
it
It sounds
To be
smelly.
nutritious.
It sounds.
It sounds silly.
We've established
The
that
placenta.
Smelly.
Lactose disgust barometer is like way off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said you've never tried it, right? So you wouldn't know, right? You need to withhold your opinion,
Fair,
right?
That's a
fair,
shame, man. Yeah, what do you-
fair. That's a good point. Okay. Fucker.
But okay, hold on. But now I actually want to incorporate this. Try to incorporate this in my worldview. And in case people aren't aware, right? Like my worldview on human consumption is not like fully formed, right? It's not something I think about very
it's
often.
in the fetal stage.
It's still the
It's still in the
Egg
smoothie
is totally
stage.
great again.
I mean, if necessary, I would abort it. I think it'd be fine if I did.
or blended up.
but okay, so I don't have a fully formed so I might like introduce contradictions here, okay? All right. But I am I think there's a difference between like human consumption, right? Which is what we've been talking about, like the ghosty and everything, right? Like human consumption, but then talking about like human breast milk, right? Like a product of that organism, right? Just like maybe I shouldn't use that example. Might be a bad one. Yeah, a product of them. So I'm okay with like drinking human breast milk. I think it's fine. So then a placenta, which is I think placenta seems fine. But I'm struggling to find a consistent definition as to why that's fine rather than like a finger.
Or a fetus, according to you.
No, not a fetus.
No, because that's human flesh, right? Oh, what are the concerns about getting a taste for human flesh?
But
in your mind, a fetus and a placenta are morally equal, aren't they?
No, I don't. Because if we kill a placenta, we're not killing a human, right? If we're killing a zygote or whatever, right, fetus, that's killing a human, and I've acknowledged that. So these are two different things.
But isn't it flesh though? Wait, hold on. I think the argument is in flesh. Like, I mean,
flesh.
If you're worried about the human taste, like that's what the problem is, right? You're worried about people getting the taste and like going crazy.
To the taste of
blood.
No, I got a taste. I got a taste for human blood. Yeah, it's like when someone says, "Old Yeller over there got a taste." We had to put him down. I'm like, you think the dog's gonna start eating people now? Like,
it's just rabid.
Yeah, that's a dumb rule. I hate that.
Yeah. Again, I don't know why. Like, I don't know how to properly define like why wouldn't I would say that it's bad for society to like eat a human arm rather than a placenta.
Well, I think because
You
can
just think it's
kill
icky.
to get human meat, you can kill somebody to get human meat, but to get like a placenta or breast milk, there is no way to get that by killing somebody. But there could be a market to get human meat by killing them.
Wow, you could start killing pregnant women.
Well, again, you
But
would
then they're not going to make breast milk.
you would have some kind of
Well, you have a
schedule,
placenta.
Just
You
for the
would-
placenta.
right? You could
Well,
have some kind of like
but you don't
schedule
have
to
Yeah, and then
criminalize
now you get a
meat.
twofer. Now you get a twofer. You kill a pregnant woman, you get a placenta, and you get a fetus for the smoothies.
Jesus. You could criminalize like meat that didn't have a traceable history back to like an ethical source. You could figure some system out to do that, right?
Is that to me?
Well, this is generally right to Ghoshy's
Okay.
concern and to your concern. But I even though I don't have a moral problem with the placenta or the arm, like to me, the arm definitely sounds much more appetizing than the placenta. In my mind, like I would much sooner eat a human arm. So like if we ever get into like a cannibal scenario and there's like a placenta and an arm, you guys can have the placenta as long as I get the arm. I will make that trade just to work.
More nutritional value.
There's a
in the
lot of things
placenta
that
than the arm.
happened, right?
I got a lot of. I thought I was gonna have the wildest take on this, but
Can you imagine this scenario that we, the six of us, are gathered, right? From across the country, right, and some like outside the country, right, have gathered a post-apocalyptic society, and then what we have before us is a placenta and an arm, right? And he's calling dibs, right?
I'm
Just in
calling
case, right,
dibs,
you guys tried
yeah.
to pull it. He's calling dibs on the arm. You guys have the
Well, because like eating a placenta sounds like Freudian. Like I don't know. The idea of it sounds like very like.
Oh, God
bothers
forbid you're
me.
Freudian in a post-apocalyptic
normal.
world. That's
It
going to be your biggest.
It bothers me deeply. Yeah, I don't like that
No,
idea.
I don't wanna
as
be
long as I get to cook it, I don't care which one I get. You know what I'm saying? As long as I can cook it.
Freudian. Yeah, you.
Like
yeah,
I
cook it.
lived off a placenta for like 9
Hold
months
on,
of my life.
I might
Okay?
let Ali
I
cook
didn't
it, too.
live
He
off
looks
of
like
an
he knows what
arm.
spices are for.
Freudian had less to say about the fathers. He had a lot to say about the mothers. So, would you consume your father and not your mother? You're like, no, you guys can have her.
I'm keeping away from the genitals or anything related to the genitals.
Yeah, fair enough.
Arms
You're not
are
gonna eat
cool.
like bull testicle or like
Yeah,
human
just
testicle.
those-
I,
some
I
bottle
have
issues,
eaten.
bro.
I have eaten bull testicles, but that's different.
So wait,
Those-
why wouldn't you eat human testicle?
Those are people. It's different.
Nah,
So is an arm. Wait, so is an arm. It's a people.
Well, no, wait, hold on. Just to be clear, like ultimately speaking, you're right. Like as long as it's ethically sourced, there's no problem with it. Personally, personally, like
it's just
you know,
icky.
right. So like one of the things I noticed, like after like if you eat meat that you hunt, like I every time I eat it, like I think about like the moments leading up to me getting it. Right. It's like very like personal, and I would be thinking the whole time, like if I was eating human balls, like thinking the entire time about like what the dude did with the balls, and it would bother me. So like I couldn't fuck with it. It would just be awful, right? Like did he fuck good women with it? Were they
What
hot?
did he do
Like-
with his hand?
So
See,
this
but-
is like-
Were they hot?
I
know, but I know what he did.
Testicles?
I know what he did with his hand because he's a guy. I know what he's done with his hand.
This is the most like
There's
soft,
predictability.
soft.
There's
This
predictability
is the
there.
No, this is the most soft beta take I've ever heard. Anything you're like thinking about how dominant you are over this animal that you're about to kill. It's a dominance thing. You're eating them.
Animal. This is a human being we're talking about.
Yeah, we're all animals.
Okay, I get that, but like when it comes to my culinary choices, my for humans, I think it's gonna be a little bit different than it is for animals. For animals, I'm with you. I'm pretty much like I'll eat anything, right? As long as
What
it
about
doesn't.
breasts?
Yeah, I'll do that. But like
Okay.
it's gonna be like a little bit weird, but I would probably still do it.
Okay.
It's like one of those like filled with like milk or whatever, like milk filled chocolates. I
No,
don't
it's just probably gonna be like fatty and just just.
know. Yeah, but see, I love ribeye though, right? So I figured that like if
Mm.
there's
I wish we had
What?
Ali here. No, not Ali. Excuse me. Not Ali. Certainly not.
Damn, Ali, I wish you were here
ashamed that
too.
he's here. No. I mean, my friend Dream, Hatim, who was here previously. I'd like to get his opinion to how human consumption, right? And so later on, if he runs for office, like I'm just like creating more clips for Apple Research. If any of you guys ever do anything important, right? These clips will be out.
Listen,
I will pay you to delete everything.
I hope these clips come back. I'm going to double down if I run for office. They're going to be like, what do you think about eating you?
And then you will lose. And then you will lose.
They like the honesty. I'm going to be like, listen, you're on the menu, fucking reporter.
I think
If
Gibbs
there's,
could
shit goes
win.
down.
10 years.
No,
10 years
I
from
like
now?
Gibbs is very charismatic. I think he would do well. And then this clip would come up and he would try to
It'd be
back it.
fine.
And then every attack ad, Gibbs wants to eat your children.
Yeah, see, I told you, I'm honest.
They would say, at least this one's telling the truth.
At least
it's just
he's
like,
Or a
honest.
clip of him in makeup comes up.
That's fine
And
too.
then the makeup
all
clip.
of those are gonna be perfect.
That would be more damaging for conservatives,
No,
right?
it wouldn't, because they would be like, look what he said on there. He wants alpha males cucking people. That's what they're gonna say. It's gonna be perfect.
I don't think so.
Even makeup, I'm more manly than you.
I don't think alpha males cucking people really appeals to the 60-year-old evangelical moderate. I don't think that they particularly like that.
I mean, those 60-year-olds
I
are
think you'd be
changing every
surprised.
year, right?
Those 60-year-olds are gonna love Papa Gibbs. Let me tell you.
So, like, once again, right? Like, I wonder about my friend Aiko, who's just joined us, right? See, like, Aiko's a respectable human being, right? And he's a debate coach, in case you didn't know, right? He's debated. I mean, he's like trained championship teams, right? You've run a championship at some point, right?
State championships, yeah.
Yeah,
We've made nationals. Yeah.
He's done championship teams. Respectable human being, and he comes in here, and what does he find? The usual crew talking about consuming human flesh, right? Like, and so
I'm thinking that we've never debated cannibalism before on our squad.
I
I feel like that'd be a good debate
I feel like there are some
Biology and
things that he's above, and we typically drag him into the muck, and so I apologize to you for that, and I also apologize to Ghosty because holy shit, like this has been over.
No apology necessary. It's all good.
Prime, would you eat a cooked dick?
No.
I mean, I don't want to eat a finger, so I don't want to eat. I don't want to gobble someone's dick. No, thank you.
Right answer. Right answer.
No, yeah, like, but you know, well, I guess I've already answered the question. In terms of like, because there are people who do exactly that, right? Like we've had examples, like crazy examples from Germany, like where else, right? Either Germany or Florida, right? Where people have like chopped off pieces of themselves, including the dicks, and then like eaten it, right? Like found people on the internet who wanted to do that and eaten it, and then we've arrested those people. And so, yeah, I think that's a problem. We can't like normalize that.
Well,
also,
there was that serial killer. I don't know. Like, I'll have to look him up here in a second.
There's
I don't know all the
multiple.
specifics. But he owned a barbecue place. He was feeding it. He was feeding it to all sorts of people. People were claiming it was the best barbecue they ever had.
Sounds
That reminds
pretty
me of the
good to
South
me.
Park commercial where Cartman was selling burgers.
Mhm. Except there's still the prions. That's a problem. But go ahead, sorry.
How tasty would it have to be before you would decide to eat it anyway if you knew where it came from? Yeah, like let's say like you had some kind of like future foresight on like how the burger would taste. How tasty would it have to be before you're like fuck it and just eat it anyway?
Nah.
The question is, you'd have to be tricked into eating it, right? But then, like, it has some addictive property that makes you like crave eating it again.
So, like, the first bite was involuntary,
and it was like, holy shit, this is the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. Oh my god, it's better than sex, it's better than success, it's better than everything.
Like Turkish Delight, right? And Chronicles of Narnia, like
absolutely.
You just have to eat it.
Would you take a second bite?
That's a good question because it's at some like when you took the first bite, then you're past the taboo, right? Like, I'd never take in human flesh, but I have.
It's like heroin. It's like
how they get
heroin.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I would never do heroin, and then you do heroin, and then you do it again.
Yeah, I mean, now I've done heroin.
Yeah, you've
maybe
already
a little bit
done
more
it.
heroin to be okay. Yeah. Like,
some drugs are addictive immediately after the first dose.
Yeah.
Like you're instantly addicted. Not very many of some of the harder drugs.
Most heroin addicts don't get addicted.
Yeah, heroin's not addictive after
heroin's
the
not
first.
that first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
I think it's more like crack. That's like pretty. You'll want some more.
I've heard good things about crack. Yeah.
So I think that like at some point, right, like an experience could just be so blindingly good that like you aren't in your right mind, right? You know, like we see this for fucking less things, right? Like men who are horny, right? Like the even the thought of future pleasure can get them to do really stupid things.
Look at
present,
Gibbs.
Right?
Look at the women Gibbs dates. Like this is an example we have right here.
This is just impulse control.
In fact, one of them right now, I got one right now, putting up the decorations in my house.
He just has them. He just has them wandering around his house. Why? How? What the fuck?
Texas.
They probably
I think part of it is social proof, right? Like they see other women dating Gibbs, and they're like, "There's got to be something." I mean, look at him. There's got to be something.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big.
There's that Seinfeld episode where we're showing a picture of his hot ex-wife, like got women to, "Oh, you dated her," and then
two Seinfeld episodes came up tonight.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. I'm going to finish this question, but I actually want to ask Ghosty about this, right? But not about the human consumption. We're done with
over that.
But like, I would just say that at some point, there like an experience can be so profound that you aren't in your right mind, and so yes, I can imagine that at some point, right, like the experience is just so good that like I can't. I'm not here at the baseline. I'm at baseline now, and I'm far removed from that. So there's that. Ghosty, the thing I was going to ask you, and I don't know if this is a thing you can ask any person. Like, it's one of those like unconscious things. But I've heard this about women, and maybe I should ask you about your observations. I'll ask you about that instead. Yeah, your observations, right? About like your friends, right? Who are female. Have you seen women who like they weren't interested in some guy, but then they found out this guy happened to be popular with women, right? And then that made them more attracted to them?
I can't think of any examples like that happening.
Okay.
No.
All right. No, maybe that's not.
That's like less of the way. Where the way it's better described is like so like a lot of guys will say that when they're single, right? Girls don't seem to show any interest, but if every time they seem to be in a relationship, it just seems that other girls are interested in them now, and that seems to be because like, well, you've proven to be like, well, this person loves you and enjoys you. Maybe you do have something going on for you, and so it's like that's
for different reasons.
Idea.
That would be because it's like, oh, he's a relationship guy, or like he seems like he'd be a good boyfriend or something. Not like, oh, he knows how to get all the women like. So,
well, no. If you like have women around you, it shows that you like at least know how to like entertain women. Women are there, right? Versus someone with no women around, it's like, well, you don't have any women around.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I've never like, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've had some slutty friends in my life. I've never like I can't think of like an experience like that. I've had like a situation where like my friend slept with somebody and then she wanted to sleep with him too, but they already like knew each other. Like I don't know if I don't think that's the same thing.
Slutty friends who are available for lactoid. You know, for my friend lactoid, maybe possibly.
They're gonna have to get used to a bum leg. That's for sure.
I don't pimp out my friends, but you know.
Oh, hold on, but no, not pimping anyone.
You're a bad friend.
I like you're
no good friend would set somebody up with me. Okay, let's just be clear here. Okay.
Do they like motorcycles?
Yeah, Lacto's a very bad boy. Don't set up any girls.
He's got a leather jacket.
Bad boy.
It's gonna be 3 dates in. It'd be like, listen, okay. the whole like necro shit isn't really all that bad. I don't know. If it's all that bad.
It's not pimping them out.
Like, that was my problem for the longest time.
Right? If they have to,
maybe don't talk about
right?
necro stuff on date 3.
It's like if you have a
You're right.
friend
Date 1. That's more honest.
who likes comic books, right? And then you buy them a comic book. You take them to a comic book store, right? You're not pimping them out to comics, right?
I don't think they're gonna have anything in common. Just being honest.
With Lactoid specifically.
They're slutty. He likes slutty girls. There's the common interest.
Does he?
I think it's
She
the most
also
common
wears
interest.
makeup, so
Well, like I really prefer like a tradcon. Like look, I watch Andrew Tate. Okay, I want like a tradcon wife, but that puts out for me specifically very quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but nobody else. But nobody else. Just me. Yes, that's good. That is how God ordained this.
Doesn't Andrew Tate say some things about age as well? They're really illegal and
Not that
problematic.
shit. Not that shit.
Oh, okay.
No, not those.
Lactoid's drawn a
Not that
line.
shit. That is the
Okay.
line. That is the
Everything
line.
else.
18.
Everything
Now
that
Lactoid's
Tate's
about
have said about
protecting
the
children.
virgins and above, we're okay with. Virgins and below, no.
Okay.
Doesn't that depend on what state Lactoid is in?
18 minimum, regardless of the state. I don't care.
Okay.
18 minimum. Okay.
But you aren't gonna follow the law. I mean, if it's in I say that's 16, you should follow the law. The law says
I like look. This is gonna sound like weird, but it's 100% true, and I think it's actually responsible. I think men should be doing this. I have absolutely like done background checks on like back when I did online dating.
It's probably a good idea.
I have done background checks on women to make sure that they weren't like felons.
I think
B,
dating apps
to
ought to
make
do background checks.
But they don't, right? And B, more importantly, to make sure that they were actually the age they were saying they were, because women will lie to you, and you can't always tell, right? So definitely,
you got to make sure they're still fertile. Yeah,
I had that happen to a friend of mine. He was only 19 at the time, but he was on Tinder. This girl who said she was 18, and he gets there. We dropped him off, and he found out she was 16, and we literally picked him up like 50. He called us like 15 minutes later, and he was like, "You have to pick me up. Like, these girls are 16 years old." And we were like, "Okay, we'll be right there."
Smart
And
man.
he was 19 at the time. Like, and people make excuses for this shit all the time. Like, oh, 19 and 16, like that's not big of a deal. Like, I don't think people realize how different like a 1 year difference makes from like in those ages of your life. Like in your late teens and early 20s, like 1 year, 1 to 2 years is like a big difference for people.
Do people agree with that? I'm actually curious now because we're not like I'm not like debating necessarily the age, right? But like I'm just like is there a difference that much?
Michael probably has the best
My
barometer on this.
sister was dated a senior when she was a sophomore in high school. But I think the age difference was, I think she was kind of skipped a year. So really the age difference was about 3 years. And that didn't seem all that weird at the time, but it definitely seemed weird once he was in college and she was in high school. That was a little bit of an awkward time for her, but they're married. Like, he's my brother-in-law now. So like it worked out.
Did they know each other like prior to?
They went to
dating for a
school
while?
together. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
They were
I
in
think
the
that
same
makes
school.
a difference too. If they like have known each other growing
Well,
up.
wait. When you're saying that
why?
between like under 20, like every year matters, and now like because they knew each other, the gap doesn't matter.
Yeah,
How does that make any sense?
I agree with Ghosty on this one. I think that there is a massive thing here. Like, so if you dated somebody in high school or had previous experience with them, like I remember when I went off to college, I had an ex in high school that I like saw on Christmas break, and I saw like, I don't know, 1 year the same year on spring break. And that was like the first year I was in college. But like, even with her only being a year younger than me, the difference in like what was going down like in college, the like life experience you have, it's so much different, especially if you come from like it's like a sheltered home, and then you go to like a college in a different city. You know, your life experience is gonna be wildly different. Then you come back and like they're just, I don't know, it seems like it's an unfair
I'll go to college.
different
But
Wait, just because someone's a wild child and someone isn't a wild child, like that could.
I mean, no, it's just the life experience of being out on your own compared to being like sheltered at home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're, like if you're a 14 14-year-old, if you're like a 14-year-old wild child and you're just like out and about, like you have the life
people that leave a
experience.
town and stay in a town, right? Like if you like stay in a town and you're in your 40s, and then like I go back to like visit, and I do this like when I go back to like a hometown on holidays, and you go to the same bar, like these people will be like, "Oh, you did this? Oh, you did that? Or you've been here? I saw this on your Instagram," and it's like they've never left their own. And it's such a
the same thing could be happen to two 15-year-olds, right?
No,
One
but
15-year-old could stay in the town,
sure.
another 15-year-old could,
And it would be weird for them
have all
probably
these
at some
opportunities to go all over the place. When they come back, they'll have that virgin life.
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely.
So now
I
they
think
can't
that's
date?
exactly true. Like,
Does that mean that they can't date though?
I mean,
No,
they
I had more experience
it's within.
than
Hold
most,
on, it's
like-
within the same realm though. Like, and this is what I'm kind of saying. They're at the same age. They're under 18. They're not expected to be an adult, right? Like, there's going to be some level of like this similarity, right? But like after you're an adult, or even like when you compare it to like people that are under, like once you've hit 18, the adult world and then the life experience combinations. I even will argue that like if you never leave your hometown, you're like mentally like a little bit less developed than people that have traveled and stuff because you just don't encounter as many different.
Hunter.
Like,
Friend,
Well, most people
Like,
probably
I-
don't leave their hometowns, right? Like,
sure, but and that's what I'm saying. Like it's like an unfair advantage almost.
Gibbs, to be clear, I'm not arguing you against that point. I think like everyone can use more enriching experiences. I think leaving wherever you're from, right, is an enriching experience. Like seeing how other people live, even if it's another city over, right? Like things like this enrich individuals. So I agree with you on all that. So I'm not arguing against that part. It's just like the part that I want to explore with Ghosty here is like these differences. Like how is it so much different than with these life experiences with a 3-year age gap? Is what I don't necessarily agree with, right? Like is a 16-year-old. I remember being 16. I remember being 19. And like the difference wasn't like vastly different here.
I don't know. For
yeah.
me, like I remember being in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and the year after college year, like up to like 21. And I feel like just through, I mean, and I had gone through a lot when I was a kid. Like I'd seen a lot, I've been through a lot, whatever. Like, so I wasn't like very super sheltered or anything. And I feel like every year, just the amount of shit you're learning and experiencing and just like new experiences and new people and everything, it just changes you so much. So like those differences, I don't know, are pretty vast. Like the difference from 16 to 18, like a totally different people, and then 16 to 19, or I mean 17 to 19, totally different people. 19 to 21, totally different people. Like
Really?
I just grew, for me, like I don't know, it was so different, like just with knowledge and experiences.
Last thing I do, I'm going to go to Aiko. I had his hand up, but like, is about the idea of knowing them previously, right? So you said, like, in terms of Aiko's relatives, right, that like, well, she knew him previously, and so that was better in your mind. Okay, so I'm putting another scenario out there, which actually did happen. There was a preacher, and he had this congregation, and there was a family that he knew for quite some time, and they had a daughter who was underage, and he had ministered to her. He had ministered to her parents, like kept them together for like marriage counseling and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that she was 18, he married her, right?
Right.
Like I think like the day of, or like something around there, right? He marries her. Now he was like in, I think, 51 or something.
That's some sus shit, bro.
That's
That's
very
some fucked up shit.
And so he knew her previously. He absolutely did know her previously. He knew her like she was like 14 or whatever the fuck, right? And so like would that make it better then?
It's not, because he's already past the, like, what I consider, like, for me, it's around like 20. It could be as low as like in 22, even 21, and as late as like 24, 25. Once you're past that point, then you're already just like an adult with full experiences and knowledge of what it's like to be a minor. When you're like under 20, you're still in that stage of like, you don't know what it's like to be a grown adult yet. So I give if you're under 20 and you're with somebody a little bit younger than you and you knew them prior, I give them like forgiveness or whatever.
I'd go the
That shit's grosser
yeah.
than eating a placenta. I'll say that.
I think.
Go ahead,
so
I think because it's not like a 1-to-1 like a correlation where everything scales up equally. That might be where the half plus 7 rule came from, because the proportionality of what you can tolerate in terms of differences shifts as you get older. The gap can get a little bigger, right? So if you're 14, half plus 7 is 14. But if you're 30, half plus 7 is what is it? 23, something like that.
22.
So the gap that you can sort of tolerate gets bigger with that rule. Now that's a pretty old rule. It's a traditional one. Maybe half plus 7 isn't exactly the right number at all points along the scale, but there is some sort of proportionality that you can look at in terms of, okay, like we know that your brain development, you're still developing all the way up until you're 26. But the degree to which you're far behind one of the peers that you might be dating who's older than you is certainly greater the younger you are. And so you can tolerate smaller and smaller gaps as the age, is younger.
I mean, that's interesting you say that, because I'm starting to think about it now. And that's pretty much what I do. I think most of the women, I'm like 33, and most of the women I hang out with are like 26, 27.
You're like 33? Maybe,
I am
maybe
33.
not.
Yeah, I am 33. I was trying to do math when I said it. I was like, okay,
It's like around.
Yeah, so they're all like
He's 33, but he's like 18.
Yeah, I'm like 50, my body's like 55. It's got enough metal to set the metal detector off at it. So like whatever. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty accurate now. It's kind of funny you said that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Corey?
Well, I guess, does anybody take issue with, I think, Emmanuel Macron's marriage and relationship? Isn't he married to like someone who's like 20 years his senior, and they met like literally it was his teacher and they met when he was like 15 years old?
That's the issue people have. It isn't necessarily just the age difference. It's the circumstances under which they met.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that she was his teacher, that really makes
She
it
knew
worse.
him
About the
before.
French?
Go
About the
see.
French
She knew him
people?
before.
But he was already.
Well,
Candace owns
Not
it.
as
I know,
peers,
I
there
know.
was a power dynamic
I
relationship.
know.
Has
But
anyone
what if
come
it's
up
like
with
a
other
he
people
definitely
owning
has
it
a
power
with her?
dynamic now.
Well, hold on. What if they like meet later? Like, he's their teacher, and then like 10 years later they meet somewhere, right? Like, then it wouldn't be weird, right? Like, you'd be like, oh,
that should
That
be a
would still be a
requirement.
little
That
weird,
should be a
but it would be
requirement
far
for
more
NATO.
acceptable
People would
than
always be
dating at the
suspicious.
time, yeah.
If you want to stay in
Sorry.
NATO,
It would be
you can't
suspicious,
have the
but
whole
it
child
could
shit.
be. Okay.
What?
I think it should be a precondition for NATO. You shouldn't be able to be part of NATO and be like fucking kids. Like, seriously. Like, this is
Okay, like
It-
18 must be 18 plus. Okay.
yeah, 18 like minimum first
NATO
of all.
countries.
But I mean, like, even like Russia's better at this than when it comes to like France.
there goes Germany, bro.
Or the Netherlands, right? We
But in
talked
this
about
case,
the
he
last
was the
fucking
kid,
time.
so it's not. He didn't violate anything.
No,
She did.
you're right. He is a victim here. I'm not blaming him. I feel sympathy for him, but she's a monster, and she should be criticized, and she should take flack for that because she did something wrong. I think.
Oh yeah, is that
That's
is that
weird when it
grooming?
comes to that.
Is that
Yeah, of course it's grooming. How? Jesus
People
Christ!
care less because it's a guy.
Wait a
but,
minute,
like,
hold on,
yeah.
hold on. Before we say it's grooming, right? And it might be. I don't. This is my first time hearing this situation. I knew that she was older than him. I had no idea about the teacher thing, right? So I'm just learning about this. But like, was there grooming, or was it like, hey, like we
Natural between a 15-year-old.
No, hold on.
Okay.
I'm saying, like, was it grooming, or was it that, like, yeah, she happened to be the teacher, right? And he had a crush on her and whatever, but nothing happened, nothing, all completely appropriate. And then later on, years later, they happened to meet again, and then
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, so, like, some of these
Like,
age
let's not
differences
throw
aren't that
around
high.
the word grooming unless it's actual
if
grooming.
it's a
I hate
student-
this era.
It depends if it's like as soon as he turns 18, like she jumps right on it, or they just like happen to meet.
It's like they knew he was
again.
25 and she's 35.
And they just happen to meet. If she's like waiting, like counting
Yeah,
the
like they
days.
run
until
into
She's like
Walmart.
I hear
15 or
you.
20 years older than him.
I hear you.
Isn't that
So
like
like,
the
all right,
age?
so like, if you were like 5 years older than your student, they turned 18, right? Okay, they could be like a teacher, right, in high school, right? So say they're 5 years, 6 years older. Okay, so they had a cash, whatever. 10 years later, he's like, okay, that kid's turned 18. 10 years later, he's 28. The teacher's like, 33, like 30 or something, right? So, okay, they meet at Walmart, and they've never had any contact before that. I don't find that, like, real sus, right? Like, that doesn't
Yeah,
seem like...
Yeah, I think the
there
weird
was
part would be if
grooming
like he
there.
like looks up his old students to see if they're hot now. He's like,
Well,
"All right,
what if
well,
they actually saw on Tinder? Like, oh, okay, we clicked on Tinder. Oh, she was hot. That was Miss So-and-so.
no, I said looked up specifically, as in like you're going on
Okay.
Facebook and you're like, I
So
wonder if this
there's a
student's
rule.
looking.
There's a
She
rule
was married
that
at the time, and she it was in 1993 when he was her student. But then she got divorced in 2006, and then married him a year and a half after that. So that implies even if they started dating right after she got divorced, it would have been he would have been like 32 or something at that time.
Well,
yeah,
so-
it's still
it
fucked up.
seems fine.
No,
Well,
it doesn't seem fine. As an attorney, one of the rules it's an ethics rule that I have. I cannot have sexual relations with any of my former clients. That is a rule, right? And the reason that rule exists is for a number of reasons. But I think the first thing here, honestly, the rule against teachers doing this, I think, is more justified because you have a position of power over somebody, but you have a position of power over a child. And when you're in charge of somebody over those formative years, I don't think that you should be allowed to have sex with them ever. That should be a rule, right? Because then the question is, like, if we don't have this rule, you could mold somebody. Oh, they turn 18, or they turn 20, or they turn 30. Who knows? You mold them when they're at this young and vulnerable age to then go for you later.
Lactoid, is that why you represent corporations instead of supermodels? Is that why you like went to that particular part of law? All right.
It seemed more suited.
And corporations.
It seemed more suited
Until-
to my interests. Yes.
But no, I want to come back to that later on. But Corey,
So I don't know how accurate this is because this is from Wikipedia, but it alludes to the fact that they started a relationship like when he was 15, as in they met during a theater workshop that she was giving when he was 15 years old, and she was a 39-year-old teacher. Okay, the next sentence is, his parents initially attempted to separate the couple by sending him away to Paris to finish the final year of his schooling, as they felt his youth made this relationship
So there
inappropriate.
was something happening, probably.
And
okay,
then
that's
they-
different.
Now then they again, this is just straight off the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and that's the difference. That makes the
Yeah,
difference. Is are they trying to engage with them while they're underage?
And the couple reunited after Macron graduated and were married in 2007.
Okay.
So their parents' instinct was pretty good.
So I've heard from women, and I think just pearly things. In fact, I've heard from like women. Women have told me this in private, but I think
Does she
like,
care?
just pearly things.
The crazy woman.
that streamer, yeah. But she talked about because I had watched her one of her videos. She talked about how like she's a sporty girl type thing, right? She's like an athlete type.
Oh, her
right?
volleyball coach.
Yeah, she was athletic type, and then her coach. She was 17. She turned 18. As soon as he done, I was like, yeah, I've been like thinking about you the entire time. You're 18 now. Like, hit me up, and how
took her
like
to a
traumatic
bar.
that was to her. Yeah.
He took her to
Yeah.
a bar, and prior to that, he had been making sexual comments about her butt, and about, all the boys are gonna like you in college, and telling her all these things. And then, as soon as she turned 18, he took her to a bar and tried to get her to come to his gym, and she went, and he was trying to hook up with her. And then she found out that he was doing this to a bunch of other girls from the volleyball team as soon as they graduated.
I didn't know about that part. I forgot about that part. Oh man, that's unfortunate.
And now
that
she,
soil and
she
green
says
stuff
the
isn't sounding so
16-year-olds
bad,
are
is
hot.
Okay.
Should we only do it to criminals and bad people? Blend them up.
Yeah, but I did want to go back. We're only a few minutes left before we go to our prepared topic. And we
Thank
will
God.
do that. But I think it's an interesting idea. So I hadn't. You feeling okay, buddy? I hope you feel better soon, friend. But I hadn't heard of that role. Is this a widespread ethics role of lawyers to? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is like standard.
You generally
It's for psychiatrists too.
Yeah, it is. So there's a couple.
That makes sense.
There's a couple professions, which makes total sense. I agree with it with psychiatrists as well. With attorneys, the rule is you can't have
Especially psychiatrists. Oh my god.
especially
Yeah.
them, yeah. With lawyers, you can't have sexual relations with a former client unless you have an established sexual relationship with them before your representation of them. So if you're fucking a girl and then you represent them as something, you can keep fucking them, right?
So if you get a
But-
really hot potential client, you're like, okay, before I can take you on as a client, we got to go
Technically.
on one date. We got to,
Technically,
got to make
yes.
sure this. Yeah,
Wait,
it's the
wait,
only
how-
way I can-
That is not a problem. Oh, then that's not a problem because like he's already run through the whole Victoria's Secret catalog, right? And so he's got no problem representing them. Right.
Oh, wait a minute. If he can't date corporations, and he's had Victoria's Secret as a client, like he's kind of out of luck there, right? That'd be the one corporation you'd want to date.
Yeah, wait, could you date women within the corporation?
Oh,
So
a woman who is incorporated, yeah.
this is a
Actual
very
question.
this is an incredibly tricky moral question or ethical question, really, in terms of if it's a corporate client, but they're represented by like a single woman or something that's like very consistently your client. Does this count? And this is very difficult. And like what the range is here has been argued multiple times over.
No, what if she's just like
it's unclear. It's unclear.
no, what if it so happens to be like you're representing a corporation and you find out that you're dating someone within the corporation or against the like I'm gonna say competing like on the opponent's side.
The opposing
Like, is-
side.
yeah,
Well,
is the- yeah,
that's,
the
that,
opposing
that,
side, is
that, that's a conflict of interest for other
Okay,
reasons. Yeah. Like, and if you're conflicted, you have to withdraw for other ethical.
So even if let's just say like fucking Lay's hires you for a lawsuit, but you're dating someone within Lay's itself, that would be like a weird conflict of interest type thing.
Well, if you're dating somebody within Lay's and you're representing Lay's, I wouldn't see necessarily a conflict of interest there. But like, let's say you're fucking some chick from Pepsi and you're representing Coca-Cola. That
Yeah.
could be an issue, right? It could be an
Okay.
issue where like I got personal connections with this competitor company. You have to disclose that at least the very minimum to the company, and then the company has
Yeah.
an opportunity to waive that conflict. But even then, like it's just a dicey situation. And
What if you're dating
Yeah.
someone on your own side? Like,
generally, that's okay.
so there was that Trump. There was that DA that's prosecuting Trump in Georgia, who was dating her own subordinate who was on the same team as her. And
Bonnie Willis.
People were Fonnie Willis, and people were objecting to that. But you're saying that's not an issue?
I don't know as to that specific situation. I'll have to look more into that specific situation. Generally speaking, if you have like a pre-established relationship with a client, if you're representing their interests, I don't see why that would be a conflict.
No,
of
it wasn't a
interest.
client.
Well, this would
It
be
was,
her dating
subordinate.
someone on her own team who was prosecuting
On the
Trump.
legal team.
Yeah, so
that
well,
was-
I can give you the answer to that because it's easy. Because I worked for a law firm called Barry and Stewart back in the day, free advertising, and they were married, so they were on the same team. Like that would be, and then like before that, they were dating and they were like coworkers, right? And so they worked on a lot of cases together. And so like,
but one
it
wasn't
had
a
to be
subordinate;
illegal.
they were coworkers. It's
Right,
different.
yeah,
One is
but when they were equals, right?
sometimes,
but yeah,
you'll
still,
have
but
two
like the answer is they
partners.
could be on the same team.
like a principal can't date a teacher, but teachers can date amongst each other.
Right,
So the difference
exactly.
between, like,
And,
Well,
and
that's the
sometimes
difference.
you'll have two partners of a law firm all of a sudden get into a relationship and divorce their spouses. That's always pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, no,
no, but
that-
what-
but that
what-
happens
could a partner?
sometimes.
Wait, like,
No,
could
no,
a
no,
partner?
not only that, her ex-husband worked for them as their
Could a partner
chief
be dating
financial officer.
like if you have a bunch of what are like just regular like associates? Is that what it's
Yeah.
what, like?
Underway.
So, like, if a partner's dating an associate on the same team, is that okay? If they're like working on a project together?
Same rules as like if a manager dates an associate, which is
Okay.
that technically it's allowed, but holy shit, that's a bad thing to do. Like that is not a smart thing to do because you are opening yourself up to massive liability because all that associate needs to do is say, I was coerced into doing this. I felt like it was necessary for my job. I'm filing a discrimination lawsuit, and they are probably going to get some money out of that.
That's
undoubtedly.
fair. That makes sense.
Yeah, so 100% agree on that. Like, it's a super bad idea.
Super bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. I was gonna ask you a question. This is my final question on this. Oh wait, no. I was gonna talk about Fonnie Willis. But before I do that, Corey, if you had something to say.
Well, maybe just a point of clarification. So Lactoid, that rule of
Your sound is
like,
kind of.
Are you underwater? Yeah, it sounds like you're underwater.
You went
Yeah,
total,
your
total
sound all of a
robo.
sudden.
It's been entertaining though.
We can still understand you. So if you want to get the question out, but like,
I I
It
will
was
respond to
bad.
RoboCop. Go ahead.
No, it was probably just a loose wire.
Yeah. Hopefully, my friend will try it again. All right. So while he's working on that,
Is it better now or still
You're
the
good.
same?
Yeah, it's
no,
better.
you're good. You're
Better.
perfect. Okay, go ahead. Like,
Okay.
no.
Just to that rule of like a lawyer can't date a client unless you have a pre-established. Is that like countrywide or does that vary by state?
Well, I know
Is that a law, or is that just like taboo?
it's part of the model ethics rules. So I know for a fact it's my state, and the only way it wouldn't be part of another state is if there was like specific legislation.
like
look,
you lose your license if you date a previous client.
you can get in a lot of trouble. I would
Okay.
say especially if they report you.
I was just trying to see like where, like if it's like legal or if it's just like
it's a
taboo,
bar
like you shouldn't
association
do it,
rule.
or
It-
it's like
it-
something-
it's-
part of the ethics code.
So it's a model.
Yeah.
So essentially, what happens is there's something called the model ethics rules that states can adopt,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
model ethics rules are presented by like the pretty sure by the Supreme Court, and states adopt them or they don't, and the states tend to adopt them or very
so
strong.
it's like it's like a board.
Very strong
Yeah.
like analogs of, because all the rules are right there for them. Now,
Understood.
if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. Maybe there's some state that has some wonky rule. I am like 95% certain that this is going to be countrywide. I know for a fact it's in my state. So that's why,
Wait,
You've
so
already
roll with
looked
that.
into it.
I absolutely have looked into that
Now-
because I've also
now-
asked these questions like, holy shit, this is kinda weird.
Statistically, how often do you think it is that like lawyers do date previous clients?
So rare.
Wait, okay, you think it's actually like followed? Okay.
I think it's rare. Here's the
Okay.
reason. Here's the reason why the rule exists. And we went over these cases in law school. So there has been cases where scummy lawyers, in exchange for payment, right, for their services, will get somebody who otherwise can't pay to engage in sexual relations. One attorney was so brazen as to shoot porn videos from the when you meet with a prisoner. So lawyers have like privilege to meet with prisoners like in isolated rooms, and because of attorney-client privilege, they're not being recorded, right? And so they were in that room alone with no recording. So he was having sex with her, filming that and posting it to porn videos, or posting it to porn websites. Well, I guess somebody must have caught wind of that. Perhaps the jail, like either somebody there watched the porn video, or like, hey, why is it taking so long every single time? Something along these lines. And they literally,
So why is it so quick every single time?
or it was so quick. They busted them in the act of doing it, and
Wow.
Holy
like
shit.
opened the door like when it was happening, and so he got disbarred. He got in a lot of trouble for that.
But I would assume that's more for the fact that's like you're taking sex for payment, you're recording it, and it's like within the Like I think there's like more to it than just like dating like the client, right? I think I'm saying like
but here's
if
the
someone
problem.
dated,
The
if
lines
you had a
get
client
blurry.
like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm getting
so
at.
right,
like,
right. And so, these are the questions.
You know-
These are the questions that I was asking.
Yeah.
Like, what if you've had no contact with them for 20 years or whatever? No,
Yeah.
it is a steadfast rule. Like, if
Really?
if you've had them,
Okay.
and because the logic is like, look, lawyers can be crafty motherfuckers, right? And
Yeah.
generally speaking, they're bad people. So they are absolutely going to, like, a lot of them find ways of like, we can handle payment later, and then like, well, you could do something for me, and I can like waive this payment. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Right? There's all these circumstances that can happen later.
But that seems specific to like coercion and like stuff like that. I'm saying if there's none of that, if like you resolved payment through legal means, 5 years later you guys bump into each other at fucking in Miami, and then you guys hit it off.
Yeah.
That's kind of like would that be like illegal to do? Would you get disbarred potentially, or is that just more taboo? That's kind of like more.
So I look. If a situation like
'Cause
that
everything
truly
else,
happens, if a situation like
Yeah.
that truly happens, I'm not going to judge that person like they're doing something morally wrong.
Yeah.
The rule is absolute though. So like
Oh,
if
that's
they're
all.
doing like and the logic is
That's fair.
we don't want to have to dig into whether or not this is justified or not. We don't want to have to dig
That's
into
fair.
like the actual details of the sex. We just have this rule like unless
That's
you've been
fair.
fucking them beforehand, you can't fuck them afterwards. And that's
Okay.
the rule, and that's what we got.
Yeah,
follow.
so assume the simplicity of that makes it easier to administer.
Yeah, that's
Because
like,
then you
that-
don't
that
have to
makes
say,
total
okay,
sense.
what about this situation? What about that situation?
Mhm.
Well, and just FYI, given my experience in academia, it's not forbidden for a faculty member to have sexual relations with their grad students or students.
It's not the same rule, but it is the same rule when it comes to psychiatrists.
Wait, with
Right,
the current
psychologists.
Although some say it should
wait,
be.
as like wait, their current
No,
students.
yeah, as in a faculty member can, at least I know of specific cases, faculty members, like pretty much
Yeah, I
they're
do too.
supervising the grad student, and they're, having sex with them.
I know several
or having a
married
relationship with
couples who are former.
Wait, with
yeah.
wait, how would that like? Well, I like whatever it's for, but like if you're a student and then like that's your like you're fucking your teacher, your grad student, whatever it may be, and how is that not like compromise the grade or whatever? Like,
It
Don't worry about it.
Allowed.
Don't worry about it.
There are cases in academia how
okay,
This is what
It
happens.
gets
That's-
questionable.
okay.
Yeah.
And
all right.
you said you know couples like that.
I know several. I know 3 couples, all of whom were in college, and the other one was the professor. Yeah, I know 3 couples that are that way.
I know a
at
couple.
least
I know
one-
a couple too. Yeah.
All of them married. All of them have kids. Like they long-term married. It's worked out fine. But yeah,
I mean, it
know a
makes
couple
sense.
that
but
the
I have a
undergraduate
lot of
student
friends who are
and
professors,
their
so.
TA like got married.
Your TA.
yeah.
As in the TA, and they were TAing the student, and then things happened. They
Go-
got married.
Ghosty,
I
what are your
understand the
thoughts on
attraction, but it's still just like
Ghosty? What are your thoughts on that in terms of a grad student and you're like supervisor professor?
College, I feel like it's a little different. And not a little different, it's a lot different. Than high school or obviously any other school. I don't have as much of a problem with it. It can be sus. It can be sus, but it's yeah, I just think you'd have to be a little more careful, I guess. But I agree with you
are they like
ultimately.
25, 26, or how old is a grad student? Like,
It could be 25
Average?
in there,
Yeah.
20.
I don't like it.
23 to like 20.
yeah, I don't like
Well,
it. It doesn't
21,
sound-
They can start at 23, but,
they're
like, they can
paying.
go
They're
into
paying
their
the
30s and
school.
40s.
This
It doesn't-
benefits them. I don't see the problem here. Like they're paying the
Here's
school.
here's what I don't like.
You know, like it's capitalism.
Sure,
I can give you-
I get that. The problem is
And what about all of your students?
here's
In
the
fact,
problem.
the professor is the
Gibbs.
employee of the student.
Gibbs, here's the problem, right? A lot of universities are public. So we literally have potentially government agents compelling women to fuck them in exchange for a good grade. I
You
don't like
say it's a
that.
honeypot. It's a
I
honeypot.
don't like that. Yeah, look,
Yeah,
I don't like that. They're
Well, that's why I
they
said
are
it's
public
sus.
employees.
yeah.
But
But hold on, but it's so I've actually heard from women on this, right? Women who have been going through like a grad program or a PhD program. They talk about like how their supervising professor like comes on to them and like like shoots their shot and like how incredibly like
Awkward and uncomfortable.
awkward
Yeah,
and damaging to
fucking-
the relationship, and then they're like, okay, what am I going to do because like my PhD program like relies on this, so like
This
it
professor.
has all the same issues. Yeah, like
I guess-
so. Yeah,
I think
Yep.
maybe it would make sense if like there would be a rule where they can't date while they're in the program. But
A lot of
afterwards-
schools have that rule. A lot of schools have the
Well,
rule
of
that
course,
you can't
that's
do
true.
it.
No one's going to say you can't date like years later. But I will say that
Unless
in
you're
a lot of
attorneys,
ways,
you can't.
it's not that much different than the high school situation, right? Because let's say you're in high school, but you're 18, like you're a senior or something like that. It would still be horrible if your teacher hit on you, right? Because because it's not just that you're a minor, it's that power relationship. And that power relationship still exists in college. 100% still exists in college for all of the reasons like Lactoid pointed out. And I just don't see how it all can be allowed, even if it's at the grad school level, where your students are 23, 24, 25. Like, wouldn't matter if your student was 50, because if you have a relationship, if you have a power over that person, and you hold basically their future career in your hands, there's absolutely no way you should be allowed to take advantage of that.
Because
So what do you
even
think
with
about-
age managers, like you don't allow managers to like date like workers because it's like there's a power dynamic. There's like you get preferential treatment when it comes to like those types of things. So typically it's just like there's upper management that can date amongst themselves, workers can date amongst themselves, and I think that's like the thing with like
There are
schools and
corporations
teams.
do have that policy. Yeah, you cannot date
Because they don't want to
somebody
get
who's working for
sued.
you.
Because they don't get the
Yeah.
fucking pantsuit
Yeah,
off them.
Right. HR departments know. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's
the-
it. Like, sure.
I look. I do a lot of that work. I'm telling you, like that is the quickest way to fucking
Mhm.
get sued that I can think of. Like,
I'm just saying age doesn't matter when it comes to like the dating policies.
Yeah, it's not
about, like,
necessarily
age.
about age. If everyone's
Yeah.
an adult, then it's not about age, but it's still about the power relationship.
right, but when you
Yeah.
combine them both, like when it comes to
Hold on,
Macron, right?
speaking of-
Macron, it was power and age, which is
Hold on,
doubly
speaking of
fucking.
power
relationships. Speaking
Yeah.
of power relationships, we should talk about the next topic's power relationship.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to that right now. I just want to say to Lecture about the Fani Willis situation. I'm surprised that it's like, especially within conservative circles, like they've talked about that thing like fucking nonstop.
That
the Fani
case
Willis
is dead in the
situation.
water. I don't
What
need to
the-
know about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But like at the time, I'm just saying, like, I'm surprised that you're not familiar with it. But anyway, I was just trying to explain a little bit to you, right? Like, so Fani Willis, she's prosecuting I forget which case it is. This is like the
Georgia one.
Election
The Geor-
interference.
the Georgia phone call.
the phone call. Yeah.
The phone call. Yeah.
And so Fani Willis is, she's going to prosecute this case. She's assembling a team, right? And she includes this guy, I forget his name, but this guy that she was having a relationship with onto the team. And like at first, like, and she doesn't disclose that she's having a relationship with this guy. It comes out in his like concurrent divorce proceedings, right? So he's having divorce proceedings with his wife, and his wife like mentions like Fani Willis. The Trump team gets a hold of this, and then like they go full bore on this. Like, hey, you like this seems like something weird going on here. It gets taken in front of adjudicated in front of the court, where they go through her relationship, right? Like, and this has become national news. Like the details of her relationship and his relationship, and exactly when they started fucking, and was he still married when they were fucking, and all that. And then, like, he is not even specialized in the area of law necessary for that case, right? So it's like, I mean, why did you hire this guy, right? It'd be one thing if he was like an expert in the field and he was a useful asset, but he wasn't. But now he gets a government salary, drawn in on that, and so that's why that case is so fun.
Here's the claim. And I don't know how strong this is, but I found it very quickly. The claim is that Fani Willis, as the DA, right, has the ability to bring charges or not bring charges and assign prosecutors to it. There is a question of, you have this close relationship with one of your prosecutors, and they are getting paid, right? You give them this case, and they're getting paid, and you are financially benefiting if they get paid because they are associated with you. So if you are picking them to go after somebody, perhaps you're doing that for some kind of ulterior motive, right? You're doing that to get them wealthy and get them popular and get them famous, and then you're going to marry them, and now you are better off, and you make that call as the DA originally anyway. That's the theory. So that has some legs, I guess, but that's not necessarily in a conflict of interest between the two of them. That's a conflict of interest between, I guess, the state and Fani Willis and Trump, right? That's kind of the conflict of interest being described. I wrote that case off just after hearing the phone call. Like, even if there's some technicality that prevents Fani Willis from going after him, I mean, if you actually listen to the phone call, I don't hear any impropriety there, but that's just me.
I disagree there, but okay, we can move on now. I just wanted to get that out there. All right. Thanks so much. This was interesting, right? Like, see, we started off talking about consuming human flesh, right? And then we landed on lawyers. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed out there in the audience that very long, very tangled web that we weaved here. Shout out to Admiral Gibbs for gifting a sub previously. I'm sure that was like a long time ago. And
There was
then
like 5 minutes when we started.
really? No, it wasn't. It wasn't 5 minutes. Okay. Anyway, then Michael Light, thank you for using your Prime Gaming sub. Hey, hope you're doing well, Michael Light. Thank you for coming through. I hope you're still around. I hope that wasn't too long ago. And no super chats yet. Okay. All right, Corey. But you can, if you want to support this program, if you want to jump in and you want to say a thing, right? You want to have to react. Like, we had some interesting takes here on on the organ donations and organ selling, right? Creating black markets that didn't exist, right? Creating smoothies out of human children. If any of that interests you, right? Well, then hit the subscribe button. We'll have more of that in the future, I'm sure. And follow the channel if you haven't done so yet. We'd love to have you. If you're in YouTube land, consider getting a super chat, supporting the channel that way. We could really use the support. Help us out. We're almost done with the month, but we do need your help. So if you haven't been able to help us previously, consider helping us out now, becoming a member on YouTube. And on Twitch, becoming a subscriber, get your emotes, traffic, doing and all that good stuff. Okay. So let's finally get to this topic. And I don't want Gibbs to be mad at me, honestly. But all right. A recent documentary tells a story of the humans behind artificial intelligence and social media platforms. Many of the functions of AI or social media are bolstered by the work of tens of thousands of low-wage employees. They do jobs such as reviewing automated results and training AI on voice samples. Others engage in the potentially traumatic work of content moderation. All of them work for extremely low pay, but are critical to the functions of billion-dollar industries. Do you think it's fair to pay people desperately low wages for doing this work? Do you think, since the employees are looked at as disposable, that the work is dehumanizing? Would you reform the system, and how? So yeah, I saw this documentary. I'm going to put it in the chat, right? And I'm put it in YouTube land, and I'm going to put it in Twitch land. But this is the documentary. It's 50 minutes long, so watch it later. But it talks about how for these AI models, and I think a lot of people know this, right, or at least have some sense of this, is that for these AI models, they need to be trained, right? We've heard the cases of these companies stealing vast amounts of video data to help train their AI models. But that's not the only way they train them. And so, you may have been aware of Google in the CAPTCHA, right? If you ever fill out one of the CAPTCHAs to prove, you're a human, you're clicking on something hey, identify the bicycle, right? You're actually training an AI model at the time. We've been giving Google billions of hours of, millions, I don't know, of hours of free work doing those things for them. That's an example, right? And so this goes deeper into that and shows how there's a whole industry that sprouted up around training these models, and there's a systematized way, of doing this, and paying individuals, right, to do these low wage jobs. But there's very poor job security and very, very low wages. So we want to discuss all that. Start with my friend.
All right. So, a couple things. The documentary is kind of split into focusing on two different jobs, right? The overall theme of the documentary is these workers aren't paid enough. They're not given enough shit. This is unfair. But there's the people who train AI, and then there's content moderators on social media, specifically Facebook, or one of the subsidiaries or contractors that Facebook uses. So, specifically on the AI modeling system, how it works is there's a company called Figure 8 that will, needs to train their AI to work with various companies. And how they do that is they have a bunch of people you can go to their website. Apparently, you can go to their website and you can sign up to become a contractor, and you help teach the AI. So for example, how does an AI know there's people in a picture? Well, it's because time and time again, one of these workers will draw a little box around the person, and then tell the AI, this is a person. Remember, this is a person. And then they keep doing this over and over again, and then hopefully the AI in the future will say, oh, I've learned this before, that's a person. So because this is a at will, easily accessible, anybody can apparently go on and jump on in, there's a lot of supply. There's a lot of people who really like the idea of jumping on to a computer, going to the website and just circling boxes or creating boxes or listening to the certain people talk and telling the AI, oh, this is a woman's voice, this is a man's voice, this is what they're saying. And so there's this massive supply and there's a limited demand. And so because there's a massive supply and there's limited demand and the job is very simple, it's very easy to do, anybody can do it. No real barrier to entry, high levels of supply and limited demand. The price of this work is obviously low. The documentary, and this is where my argument is going to be made, the documentary appears to indicate that this is unfair. I don't think this is unfair. I think this is what happens when you have an unskilled job in which demand is very low and supply is very high. Anything higher would be interrupting what the job is actually worth because people will do this job for less. Some notes that I thought were interesting. 15 minutes in, the interviewer, by the way, this documentary is very biased. They're talking a lot of shit about these companies. But the interviewer is wearing a Canada Goose jacket, which is about $1,000 to $2,000 jacket. So she's coming in with this bougie ass fucking jacket. And she's interviewing this woman who's doing this job. She gets paid $750 of free money from the government per month. And then to supplement this, she also does this work. The reason why she doesn't go out and get an actual job is because her daughter has autism, and she wants to be available at a moment's notice, despite the fact that public schools have resources for kids with special needs. So I'm skeptical on a number of things here in terms of her victimization, in terms of the amount of money she's getting free, and also the fact that apparently it's unfair that she's also getting paid for essentially what she's worth doing this job. But the documentary talks a lot of shit. In fact, at 27 minutes and 10 seconds, the documentarian specifically says that the founder of Figure 8, he's out of touch, and that an essential part of understanding his logic is that he's out of touch, which I thought was pretty weird to say. But regardless, that's essentially, they're just pooping on this fucking company for hiring for low wages. The second job, which is Facebook moderators, where they're reviewing horrific shit, and I know this because I also review horrific shit, of car wrecks, dismemberment, pressure ulcers.
Your profession.
As part of my profession, I'm reviewing horrific shit. And yeah, it definitely, I will agree that everything that they said in there, I could empathize with. The idea of the shit kind of burrowing into your mind and then you remembering it later. Absolutely, it happens. And like, you will wake up thinking about that sometimes. And it's part of the job. But it's difficult for me because I think what the documentary glosses over is the fact that the company has like full-time psychologists on staff that are willing to provide services to the workers, which is already going above and beyond. It's more than I got. Now, surely I'm getting paid more than these guys are. So, you can say that it's not worth it for them. And that's fine. They're free to quit, which a lot of them do. But, I mean, the company is providing full-time psychologists, which I think is great, right? Maybe not full-time, but they're providing psychologists regardless. And there was something here at 51 minutes and 18 seconds that I thought was particularly interesting. That Facebook is quote, responsible for that kind of work. When it comes to Facebook, they should be responsible for handling the PTSD of these workers. But I don't know if Facebook actually is responsible for that kind of work. It seems like the demand for content moderation goes beyond Facebook. I think the demand for content moderation is on the government. The government demands this. And also the consumer base demands this, right? And so because of this demand that's being imposed on Facebook, Facebook hires these content moderators to remove objectionable content, specifically pornography, which obviously, people, that's not the shit that's traumatizing people. It's the, oh, wow, somebody gets caught up in a train track, right? That's fucking traumatizing, and understandably so. Like, that's fucked up. I get it. But the documentary, I think, really does gloss over the fact that they do have psychologists on staff and really emphasizes their pay. But again, talks about their pay in the sense of, well, they're in training. They're not actually working full-time at the time of the filming of the documentary. They're in training. And so, I think that was an interesting part of the documentary. The fact that a human being has to do this and they're going to be fucked up by it. because I think that's something that I empathize with, and I think it's a lot of things, something that people should empathize with. Actually, is realizing that a lot of work is dirty, and doing that work requires a level of emotional tolerance and emotional strength that people don't really fully factor in. But in terms of, I think the main thrust of the documentary, which was pooping on companies paying people low amounts of money, I reject that. I think that especially for the AI training stuff, I mean that's very literally supply and demand, and ultimately supply and demand is what dictates all wages. And so what I'm just going to say is, if you don't like the job, don't do it. Quit and find another one.
Once again, a conservative has to actually experience something to be able to empathize with another human being. All right. Thanks so much, Lacto. I do appreciate you. Let's go to our friend Ghosty.
Okay. I have been like teetering back and forth with how I feel about the first part of the documentary. As Lactoid pointed out, it was like kind of broken up into two parts. I do feel that there could be an argument made for the fact that these workers are being slightly taken advantage of for work that is necessary and is in demand. I don't think I can make an argument that they deserve like minimum wage, because they are, well, I don't even know if like contractors get like minimum wage. Like I don't know like the laws about that and stuff. But I do think you could say they're probably underpaid. They should get a little bit more, because the work is ultimately like important and in demand and necessary for their company to exist. So yeah, I think they could be paid more. I don't know. I struggle with this first part. I'd like to hear some more like takes about it, I guess. But as for the second part with the social media moderating stuff, those people, even though he wasn't training, I'm pretty sure he was given a wage though, and I think it was just a little bit above minimum wage. And they did have like a psychiatrist there. But yeah, I guess the whole point of the documentary was people don't realize that these jobs are important and people are doing them, and they're harder than, I guess they're underappreciated, and that was the point of the documentary. So I guess I agree with that, like most of it, essentially. Yeah.
Okay. Corey.
Well, pretty much I have essentially the exact same position as Ghosty, although I guess a couple of bookkeeping things to go through. Well, first, as a Quebecer, I appreciate you sending a French documentary. Okay, so I have to acknowledge that. And also, secondly, I appreciate Lactoid acknowledging his Canadian roots by recognizing the Canada Goose jacket. That's super
Of course, only a true Canadian would have seen that. Thank you. I didn't notice it.
And sort of as a joking aside, one of the most egregious things about the documentary is that Figure 8 having an open concept office, which is like the worst things in the world. No company should ever have an open concept office. And that's backed up by the empirics. They're just bad for productivity, bad for creativity, and this is just a company's excuse to like pretty much cheap out on a good office environment. But pretty much everything that Ghosty said in terms of like, in my mind, yes, they are underpaid, they are exploited and taken advantage of, but it's hard for me to make the case that like, they should have minimum wage. Like, my answer to the prompt is like, would you reform the system? Yes, but I don't know how I would do that. I would hope there's, other than like whatever, UBI, which is a totally separate conversation. But I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. Next, Ali.
Yeah, so this answers the question that I have all the time, which is like, what are you going to do in the future when you don't have any work for the unskilled? And so what are the unskilled resort to do? They're just going to train AI, or they're going to work on AI models. And I'm kind of getting sick of the idea that this is like, we're paying them for what they're willing to work, and the work is so easy, so it doesn't mean that we should pay them more, except if they don't do the work, well then these AI models don't get trained, and so then therefore we don't have the AI models that are taking their jobs to begin with. So yeah, fuck them. More than minimum wage. I'm kind of sick of like this. Pay them. These companies are making billions of dollars, millions of dollars, whatever it may be, and it's off of the workers that are doing the training that they're supposed to be doing for their own AI models. And if you can't get people to train them on your own for a decent wage, then your company doesn't deserve to run. This idea that like the company should be able to pay people as much as they're willing to get paid. Now, when I watched the lady who was taking care of her daughter, it was kind of like the case of it was like the ignorant person who's like, well, no, I'm important. This job benefits me. And she said, she's like, no, I'm not disposable. Right? That's what she was saying. She's like, I'm not disposable. If I have a problem, I'll voice it. I feel like I'm doing good. She was convinced that she's doing something that is beneficial, which she is. It's just she's not getting paid for it. And then she's convinced that like, oh, because like the work is so simple, it shouldn't matter. Right? And then to the other thing, where it's like where they have the people watching the trauma videos and trying to remove them. If you can pay the psychiatrist, and this is like Facebook we're talking about, like we're not talking about like a broke startup company. You can afford to pay people who are literally running the fucking security for your website. Like these are the people like on the front lines essentially taking care of shit that your consumers are complaining about. And that's like traumatic to other people. Clearly, we see it's traumatic to the people watching it. It's probably going to be hyper traumatic to like the kids and the normal consumers that are watching. So yes, they'll just pay them better, and then you won't even have anyone complaining, and you won't have documentaries made about you.
We'll save Gibbs for last because I feel like he's about to go off. So we'll go to Igo next.
Okay, so I tried this once. I just wanted to see like how many tasks I could get through before I like absolutely like.
You tried Figure Eight specifically.
No, I tried something called Mechanical Turk, which is run by Amazon, and they pay you on a per task basis. And I tried to log into my old account just to see what tasks were available, but it's been too long since I've done anything like that. So I just went and found it's called HIT, H-I-T. I just went and found a screenshot of somebody else who was doing it. And here's some of the jobs that were there. One of them was do a quick demographic survey. That pays you 1 penny, 1 cent. To do a demographic survey. One of them was transcribe up to 35 seconds of audio. That one pays a nickel, but that one, at least we have a time on it. We know it takes 35 seconds to do. And then another one is,
it would take longer than 35 seconds. So it would take longer than 35 seconds.
It would, because you have to type
it. Yeah.
You've got to type it in, but you've also got to like accept the task and like be moved to that side. Whatever. It might take you 1 or 2 minutes to get it done. But the point is like 35 seconds of typing is probably, in terms of the effect that it has on your hands or whatever, probably worth more than 5 cents. One of them that does sound kind of fun and actually pays reasonably well for these tasks is help pick a book cover. So, but then again, like if you're going to have fun doing it, you're probably going to spend a lot of time looking through book covers, and that kind of defeats the purpose of getting these tasks done as fast as possible, so that you can like do well. 10-minute survey, that one pays $1. That's the best paying thing I've seen so far on this list. So all of them are like very small. They take very little of your effort, but because they pay so little, you've got to fit a ton of them. You got to fit like 30 or 50 of them into a minute in order to make it worth your time to keep doing these tasks. So I didn't last very long. I wasn't really expecting to do it for very long anyway. I kind of knew what I was getting into, but I wanted to see what kind of tasks would become available. I just was kind of curious about it. And I'm in a very different world, right? Like if I want to hire somebody to substitute teach one of the classes that I teach, I'm paying that sub like $45 an hour, not 45 cents. So it's a fundamentally different sort of world than anything that I had been used to. And so I'm familiar with I sometimes pick up people. I'll do Uber. Like if I know I have a debate tournament that's going to be like an hour away, I'm going to pick up people along the way to make the drive worth my time or something like that. And that you can make worth your time. I wasn't able to figure out a way to make Mechanical Turk worth my time. I wasn't able to figure out a way to do it, or to make it even worth the time of like some of my like teenage students who might want to make a buck, once they turn 18 and go to college or whatever, if they want to have some sort of part-time job to help them. couldn't recommend it to them. I just don't know how anybody makes it work.
Thank
But
you.
somebody does, right? Because in the documentary, we saw people who were doing it.
Well, they had second jobs.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, right.
Gibbs.
Oh yeah, so let me do my best Dementis impression here real quick. Lady and gentlemen, yeah, it was terrible. All right, it is no surprise in my opinion that we are here today debating the ethics of people behind the scenes working as subcontractors or moderators or picking up the slack of moderating social media. This is a topic I'm intimately familiar with, as are many of you Discord mods in your free time that aren't getting paid. In college and in COVID, I actually worked for 2 different companies that basically did exactly what we covered in the video prompt. I worked for a company called Cha Cha in college and Alorica during COVID. I want to say that anyone working in these fields unequivocally doesn't deserve 1 penny more than what they are getting paid. In fact, as a former subcontractor, I would argue that they are getting paid way too much. We can go into the specifics of that during the debate. Before that, though, I want to address the prompt to say that these people are absolutely disposable. And as long as they aren't being rounded up by the government, they don't deserve any special treatment. Is their treatment dehumanizing? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't reform the system either. If I did reform anything, I would reform, the thing I'd reform would be to cut pay further down and start building centers in lower income countries in which the small pay would make an impact and the people there would be grateful for getting paid an appropriate amount for the no-skill labor they are performing. You notice that I use the word no skill, not low skill. That was purposeful. In the words of the American hero, Foghorn Leghorn, 2 half-nothings is a whole nothing. You can argue with me, but you can't argue with mathematics. All right? Sorry, yeah. Is a whole nother. The whole requirement for most of this work is to be able to understand rules, type on a keyboard and click a mouse. If a company builds a center for these jobs in that area, then that even gets rid of the having to own the tech barrier. In my first sentence, I said it was no surprise that we were debating this issue. The reason for that is because look up who makes up these subcontractors here in the United States. It's people who stay at home all day and either can't or most likely won't work other jobs. Or, bigger word here, it's people who get useless degrees like gender studies, morality studies, or other useless liberal arts degrees that have no practical use, and then when they can't find
Don't you have 2 of those degrees?
yeah, exactly. That's how I know. Can't find a show decides to work one of these jobs. I can literally hear the entitled, overweight, purple-haired, my pronouns are arugula, tomato, beetroot, pop. I got a degree in oppressed art screeching, saying it's unfair that they're getting paid pennies because of their own terrible life choices that cause them to be unemployable by any other employer. In conclusion, you got 2 choices. Either get good scrubs or shut the fuck up and be appreciative, because if you don't, we're going to send these jobs to the third world where the people will appreciate them, and it'll be cause a huge economic influx, much in the manner of microloans, as well as be a massive PR victory. Lordy, lordy, amen capitalism, the market fixing the world's problems.
No, okay, you know what?
I love these so much.
Gibbs is
what?
all right.
What? No,
Hell
he
yeah.
isn't.
100%.
Okay,
No question.
Listen, it sounds fine and dandy. I want everyone to tell me what the below average American citizens that I don't care if you want to call them retarded, stupid, deplorable, whatever the fuck you want to call them, they live here and they take up parts of your land, okay? I need an explanation as to what these people are meant to do other than either beg on your streets, get paid by your government through your taxes, or given shit like no skill
I got
jobs.
3 words for you.
We
Not
need the
my problem. There you go.
It is
They-
literally
they
your
can-
problem.
they can work for
It is
$5 an
literally your
hour.
problem. What was that?
Hold on. They can work for $5 an hour. That's a gift.
No. Okay, they can work for $5 an hour, and okay. So unless we subsidize their living, they're not going to be able to afford to live anywhere.
That's not true.
Right?
That's not
It
true.
is at $5 an hour?
No, yes. This fucking
This
Bernie
probably pays for their electricity bill alone.
No, this Bernie Sanders meme where it's like, and this is the
Okay.
states that you can't afford a 2-bedroom apartment with a minimum wage. Look,
But
first of all,
I-
get roommates. Second of all, don't buy
Yeah.
a 2-bedroom apartment. You get a studio, right? And thirdly, yes, like I think Gibbs is actually right when he says like it's not my business, it's not my problem. Like
it is your problem. It
Well,
becomes
but-
your problem. That's
Like,
my
studio with
issue.
roommates?
the only sense that it's my problem is because they vote. That's the only sense that it's my
No,
problem.
you have to deal with them if you
That's
end
my
up if
only
you're having
problem.
people in the
Exactly.
street.
That is one sense in which it's your problem. You're right.
It's
like
the
you're,
only
you're
sense that
literally
it's my problem.
making them vote Democrat by
Wait, hold
putting in those.
They're gonna
situations.
be
And then-
voting
and then-
Democrat
and then-
anyway,
and then-
Aiko,
and then
come on.
I live right now. Like I can afford living. It's not like, and I still complain about the prices because it's fucking annoying to have to pay the prices that I have to pay. But it's just like, no, if you go to the worst like area of Detroit right here, like which isn't too far away from maybe 2-3 miles in, it's like $900 for a studio apartment, and it's like there isn't work in that area. Right, so it's like the person that's living there will have to essentially travel to make anything more than minimum wage because it's just around like it's Joy in Southfield if you want to look it up the area, but like working around there you're not working because it's just gas stations and like convenience stores and maybe like a dollar store or two. It's like you're not getting
Wait,
more
how
than
much do
minimum
those pay?
wage.
How much do those pay?
I mean, they're trying to pay like immigrants, like illegal immigrants, like $5 to $6 an hour to like work there. But then
Well,
a lot of
I'm not talking about. Hold on, I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm saying that if this is like anywhere else in America,
yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. There's probably a lot of like above minimum wage, low skilled jobs that have hiring, all positions open in this on a sign in front of their window. Am I wrong on that?
No, hold on. I wanna-
There's a bunch of the random signs posted up on the electricity bills. But once again, what I'm trying to tell you is like these people
Been that
also
way
need
since
to have
COVID.
cars
Hold
to
on,
get to
I wanna-
work. They need to then have insurance because the insurance rate is fucked in the area. Like my insurance rate over here was $1,000 a month for full coverage
Hold on,
insurance.
Yeah,
in a
get
car.
a bus pass. Get a bus pass.
Let me tell you
Yeah,
what
I mean,
it's Detroit. They have
yeah.
public
Hold on,
transportation.
hold on. No, hold
They
on.
have
Specifically
alright
on the topic, though.
transportation,
Hold
so
on.
they have good
Specifically on the
transportation,
topic.
but it's like I'm just saying it becomes your problem when these people are like they're getting
No,
fired
no,
because they're not
Ollie, you're
making
not
it to work. They're
understanding.
losing their
This-
losing their jobs.
Because they're not making it to work.
Hold on,
How's that my
No,
problem?
Wait, how? I mean, once again, it may not directly be your problem, but when you have a bunch
No,
of homeless people that are then doing Section 8 living because it's covering the fact that they
but
can't
listen,
afford to live
no.
on their own or whatever it may be, when they're getting food stamps,
Ollie,
when they're
Ollie,
getting all these
Ollie, listen to all that
subsidized,
shit,
and
Ollie.
then you're complaining about your taxes. or you have
You
a bunch of people
Democrat
in your
voters are
street-
making a worse
or-
problem and then
but listen,
using that to
listen,
justify a problem.
Or you have a bunch of people in your streets that are beggars, that are homeless, that are only going home at like leaving at 9:30 so they can hit the homeless shelter.
Listen,
It becomes your problem in a bunch
No,
of different
no.
ways that you guys.
Neither people in the documentary were homeless. First of all,
let me.
They can-
I
they can-
want
they can-
to
I'm not
focus on. I
talking
want to bring this back to the
so they can
documentary, right?
afford a house working this way.
They were getting
hold-
subsidized.
Okay,
one of them was getting subsidized.
like
One of
Gibson.
them
That's
was.
like Gibson.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like
Let me
Gibson.
jump in here.
So
okay,
50% of the
I wanna-
people we're talking about.
Let's talk about the first part of that video, right? So the task, okay. And they said also in that interview, and the first guy that interviewed him, you have them work for 10 minutes, right? These tasks are quick tasks, right? They're very, very fast. And she showed her task list, and she could feed. I don't remember how many months she said, but she's been doing it for like, I think what was it, 8, 7, I don't know what. Some of y'all can look it up. But it was like a significant period of time, and she'd completed like 6,000, years she'd been doing it, right? 'Cause
It was
she's on
3
level 3.
years.
Right, yeah. So
6,000
3
years.
Yeah, 3 years. She had done 6,900 tasks. All right, let me give you some of these examples, some of these tasks, right? So when I was working for Cha-Cha, they had an AI thing that they were trying to do, and it was basically people would send a question in, and then the AI, you had to like order. And one of the AI things you did was you would say you could get paid 10 cents per question, and then to organize it and be like, oh, this is a question about history, this is a question about science, and then the other person, another person could get paid like
That
a
one
quarter.
sounds more fun.
Yeah, and then the other one was you paid a quarter, and you could like type in your answer for it, and you like see if they would match the AIs, right? And they pay you a quarter, and you could literally just Google the answer and type it in there and post it, right? And they give you a quarter. Now these tasks took you all maybe like 30 seconds max, right? And so when they're talking about, oh, she's like, oh, I only made $3 that day, and I'm like, it's literally because you're either not accepting tasks like fast enough, or you're so unskilled that you're even extra taking longer. It's like this person in 3 years, if they've only accomplished so many tasks, she's like like fiddling her bean all day and
Well,
not
they turned the
working.
guy.
Yeah,
They're
and that's my
perpetual
point.
victims. They're perpetual
turned
victims.
the
That's my point.
guy-
It's a perpetual victim, and at this point, I don't want to have to pay for a perpetual victim anymore. I'm sick of that shit. Like, you know what? Let's not pay for it. Let's see how bad it gets. Because, dear Lord, like maybe they'll either self-correct or they'll eliminate it for us. Because
Or they
clearly
riot.
they're a leech of
They-
society right now.
Or they riot.
They-
so like in
they
the,
timed-
yeah.
the one
They're
guy,
not
they
gonna
said he
riot. Look at them.
answered.
Yeah, what
They
are they
said
gonna do?
he answered like 180 questions in 30 minutes, and he made 15 cents.
They can't afford to buy ramen, much less buy a gun. What am I worried about? God
Yeah.
damn, you know what I'm saying?
Gibbs. It wasn't like they once they timed an individual, then the other one, I think they had a separate person actually do the work. I forget. But in any case, right, they've shown that like with what they were paying, which is different from what you were being paid.
Yeah.
It sounds like these people are being paid even lower than what you were being paid.
How? No, they weren't. They were making more. They were saying the average person's making like $3 an hour. That's like, I mean, and the reason why is because they're getting paid per completed task. So she's absolutely not finishing fast enough, or she's not doing enough of them quickly. There's no reason she should be making.
I mean,
the
how many
average
can you
person-
do fast
What I'm
enough?
saying is,
Oh, that's
$3
another
an
thing I
hour?
remember from
that's what I'm
Mechanical
saying.
Turk.
You should be able to do
Is
a lot.
that you
of
would
them. These
complete a
people don't work
task, right?
fast.
But there would be several like things that you would have to meet, and sometimes those things were not like made clear on the task. So you might finish the task in a way that fulfilled every criterion that you saw, but there was some hidden criterion that you weren't aware of, and as a result, you didn't get paid for the task. And but the customer who bought that task still got that task. There were many
I got a problem with
instances.
that. I got a
And
problem with that.
and if we're talking
Yeah.
about as many tasks as you can complete, then you have to take into consideration load screens, backup
And you would never
screens.
find out why you
like-
didn't get paid for the
like,
task.
Yeah,
They won't tell you.
that's fucked
every millisecond or nanosecond counts because it adds up. If you're doing 180 questions and every time you have to click on a question, it's a millisecond. These things add up due to the time that you're getting paid.
Millisecond,
So, like-
bro. We're talking about
so, like-
milliseconds.
So
bro.
like,
You can't,
wait, so if at $3 an hour, you're saying that you're like, no, these people are getting paid a lot. They're making $3 an hour. All right, cool. But how much work are they doing to be able to make $3 an hour? Then how much more work do they have to do and time in order to make 6?
So
Bro,
well,
yeah, but the opposite is true too, bro. So if you do 4 tasks in like 3 minutes and you crank that up over an hour, like that, then you can be making pretty good. That if you're making a quarter a pop, bro, that's all of a sudden, man.
You're not making a quarter pop.
But you are. That's what I'm
So,
saying. Like these people are
he
not
isn't.
finishing faster to make the. Yeah.
They
They're taking, like,
show the
he
prices
answered-
for these
but that's
things.
what I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell you, Prime. What you're not understanding is how easy these tasks are, and the fact that they're like so no skill.
No,
They're going, oh, okay.
You
if
said
they're
no.
paying
It's not about what you said a quarter pop. Maybe you misspoke. You might have, right?
like a quarter,
But
like a
quarter
25
per
cents.
task. They weren't making a quarter per task.
Right. Okay. Listen.
I go said
you're
one
not
task was
understanding.
$1, right? So
Yeah,
it
and
could be a.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is they're doing this per hour.
Sorry. We're the thing that we're talking about right now is figure eight. Right? We're talking about like what these people experience and and their wages, right? Not Mechanical Turk, which is what he was talking about. And first of all, just for the
$1
audience,
task.
Even from the video, the guy said 10 minutes was the average.
I gotta set this up for the audience because they may not understand this, right? So they like gamified all of this, and there's different levels to Figure Eight is a company, right? So we're talking about this particular company. There's different levels to each worker, right? And it depends on how many tasks you've completed, right? And if you completed them well or something, whatever. And then you start at like no level, then level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 3 you have access to the most types of jobs and like the best ones, right? Which pay slightly more than the others. They were talking about the prices as to like how much each task is worth, and yeah, some were worth just 1 cent, 2 cents, right? The highest paid one I believe was like 10 cents or 20 cents, but as far as I know, there wasn't. No, I think it was 12 cents, something like that. But there definitely wasn't anything on this company that was a quarter, right? So we're going to compare. It might be true that for you that if you were making a quarter per task,
But
then that sounds
10
like
cents was
quite
an
a bit
option.
more, and you could make.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what does the girl say in the video? Do you remember what she said? So she said they have the options, and she started looking at one. She goes, "Oh, I don't like that task." So what that tells me when she does this is she's picking the ones that are purposely the lowest paying, which are the easiest, right? And so when
Why
she
was
turns,
She
hold
did
on,
it.
hold
She
on,
did it, though.
and
She just said she didn't like it.
right, she didn't like it, so she didn't have to do that task, right? So they give you more.
What if it was a
options.
low-paying task? that
Hold
she
on,
wanted to
I
do?
gotta do the
Hold on,
jobs that my
hold on.
boss gives
the
me.
The CEO already in the first part said we want to hire them for 10-minute blocks to do this because you only need them for 10 minutes. That implies the tasks even the hardest ones are going to at max take 10 minutes, right? So let's say it was the hardest one like Ico's, which is $1, right? You do like 5 of those in an hour and it's $1. Okay, now you're at $5. That's already more than the average. And like in general, they want these people subcontracts to do like a few tasks at a time, right? So she's going in there and picking the 2-cent easy tasks because she doesn't want to do the harder ones, and it's adding up. Of course, yeah, you're not gonna make it. But if you're taking so long on the easy ones, then you don't have time to do more difficult ones that pay better because you're just so unskilled that even the most basic shit is like takes forever for you.
So unskilled that they're training AI models.
Well, no.
Exactly.
And here's the proof.
True. Unnecessary. These are unnecessary workers.
Well, hold on. It's not that they're unnecessary. It's that there's too many.
I mean, that's what how you.
I'll
That's how
explain
we're being
it.
talked
No.
about.
I'll explain it. Right. So, and this is evidenced by the fact that you have multiple of these services that are competing for workers, yet the overall prices are so low. The reason why supply demand curves are so important when it comes to economics is because it's not just about whether or not the job is necessary. It's about whether or not too many people are in the job to begin with, right? Like, yes, growing corn is necessary, but if you have too many people growing corn to you got a massive glut of corn supply, and then you've got way too much fucking corn, the price of corn drops like a rock. And now all the corn farmers aren't making that much money, and that is the market telling them, we got to get somebody. You guys got to go do some other shit, right? We can't have just corn. We got enough corn. Like the people have spoken, the market has spoken.
But they're not producing anything.
We have the corn.
Teaching.
Well, no, but this.
So it's not like they're making a product.
Goods and services here are identical when it comes to calculating supply and demand. So the reason why they're getting paid per hour so little, or I guess per task, sorry, so little, is because you have such a glut of people that are willing to do this for obvious reasons. The biggest reason is that it's entirely unskilled, right? Anybody can get up and do it, which is why there's so many people willing to do it, because it requires no education, it requires no skill, it requires nothing. The other thing is there's a convenience aspect to it. Same thing with Uber, same thing with like DoorDash and the delivery services. Like, you don't have to have a boss telling you what to do. You don't have to get up every morning at the same time. Like people working like I gotta do, right? Every fucking day, you gotta go in at a certain time and get bossed around and do a specific thing and do things that you're told to do, even if you don't want to do them. And like that's a rigid schedule that a lot of people don't like. But in this kind of thing, like there's benefits. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can get up when you want. You can choose which tasks you want to do. Like that level of flexibility obviously comes at a premium because a lot of people want that level of flexibility, which is why you have so many people doing that job. And so the benefits there are causing a tremendous influx, and the supply demand curve is simply responding. If they weren't worth that amount, then especially because you already have a competition between Amazon and Google and Figure 8 and these other organizations, the price would have to go up. Because if Google was competing with Figure 8 for workers, there actually was like a lot of workers who are like, oh, this doesn't pay enough. I'm going to go work at McDonald's, or I'm going to go work here. I'm going to go work there.
No,
then the price would have to go up because there'd be less workers.
No.
And the company that didn't raise their wages, their work wouldn't be getting done. And then other people would be bidding on their competitors. Like this is how it works.
I think you're always going to have people that are willing to work for less, especially if you have them convinced that the job is so easy. You don't have a boss. You're working for yourself. You're an important part of this function. You're training AI models. These people feel like they're important.
If they don't like it, why don't they go get it? Hold on. If they don't like
it, it provides the convenience that you're talking about. But I'm saying that you're comparing this to like a goods and a service. One, there aren't enough people to do the job that's necessary, because when you're training AI model, no, that's why they have so many questions. That's why they have so many surveys, and the expectation is that they're doing them so cheap because it's simple to do. But you're never going to end. This is like, there's no quota you're going to meet where you're going to be done training AI models, at least for the foreseeable future, because it's like the job that they're doing, though low skill, is highly necessary to the bottom line of the company.
There's a hidden quota, okay?
Where's the hidden quota?
I'll explain, right? There's obviously going to be a hidden quota here, because if a company didn't give a fuck about how, like, the cost, depending on how fast, like how quickly it wanted to advance their AI algorithm, then they would raise their wages to outcompete the others. But obviously, there's a rate of expansion that's profitable for that industry. There's a rate of expansion that they need to hold.
Yeah, because you're advertising these jobs to college students essentially in the beginning, or stay-at-home moms that are going through looking that get convinced to work at marketing.
It's
the
not
same
about
people,
them.
the same people
No,
that get convinced to work for pyramid
This
schemes
is what you're
are
missing
the
on.
same
No,
people
wait,
that
wait,
get
wait, no, no,
convinced
no,
to
wait,
do
this
these
is-
types
wait,
of
stop,
jobs
stop,
is
stop.
because they go in.
This is a red
thinking-
herring.
How is it a red herring? The same
This
people
is
that do the insurance
I'm
jobs,
not
the life
talking about them.
insurance. It's the same people.
No. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the needs of the industry, not necessarily MLMs. We can talk about MLMs in a second. I'm talking about this. This is the needs of the industry. You said there wasn't a quota. There's no like limit here on like how much AI training can happen, but there obviously is. There is a market rate limit that's happening, because if there wasn't a market rate limit, you would have to see wages increase, because each company competing with each other, this is a market that has healthy competition, you would see them, oh shit, we got to get more workers than our opponent because we got to have maximum workers because we got no fucking quota. We just got to maximize our AI algorithm learning. But clearly there must be, because that's not what they're doing.
Chances are it's the same people circulating amongst these jobs. It's the same groupings of people bouncing around.
You don't think that if you raise the wages, you're going to attract more workers? This is like Econ 101. Of course, when you raise the wages, you're going to attract more workers. The company has obviously decided this is not what's like is profitable. This is not what's actually efficient. What's efficient here is the wages as they are, because there's already too many people trying to do this job compared to how many tasks they actually realistically
You're
get
telling me
done
there's
per day.
enough people trying to do this job where they're getting they can pay $3 an hour?
Yes,
and that's
that is
Yes.
the whole problem. That's
Yes.
what you're not.
Yeah,
If there was a
Corey.
shortage, they would get paid more like every other career. Yes.
Corey.
So maybe on a slightly same topic, but on the Facebook stuff. Although sorry, I guess to bother you, Lactoid. But out of curiosity, so you mentioned that they now have access to psychiatrists, or psychologists, or basically mental health professionals.
Yes.
I'm curious. Do you agree with, I think, the lawsuit that took place that resulted in this change? I think Facebook was sued as a result of this, or at least previously, that's why they brought in mental health professionals. As in before they didn't, and I think like 10,000 moderators sued as a result of basically developing PTSD, and this was sort of like not a built-in, pretty much.
I remember in the
As a result of that
documentary.
cost. I'll post it in the Discord chat.
No, I'll take a look. I remember in the documentary that there were lawsuits against Facebook. I recall that the psychologists being mentioned beforehand. It could be that they were compelled by a lawsuit. I don't know if they were compelled by a lawsuit or if they decided that it was just necessary for worker retention. That could also be like a profit motive element for getting a psychologist involved. I'm not sure. I'm going to be frank with you. If they were compelled by a lawsuit, I'm opposed to that. I understand I'm paid more than these people, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's a contract that was signed. And unless I agree to have like free psychiatry services, I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting what I agreed to. And I think that these people are no different. You should expect what you agreed to, and what you're able to negotiate should be dictated by how important you are, and how important the service that you're willing to provide is, and the service that you can provide is. And these services, sorry to say, don't require a lot of work. Oh,
But wait, that doesn't mean they're not important, though.
no, it doesn't mean they're not important, but what it means
If they
is that,
weren't doing the job, the AI model doesn't get trained.
do you agree that you can have an important job that too many people are doing?
I don't think too many people are doing this job, but sure,
Well,
yeah.
Sure. Like at
Sure,
least in theory, you could have an important
Yeah,
job.
I can agree with you, yeah.
Sure. So I'm going to assert that this is an important job. That's why you have workers doing it in the first place. But the only reason that in a competitive marketplace you can get away with paying workers so little is if you have like a massive glut of workers, or if you have some kind of like conspiracy between all the different competitors. I've seen no evidence of that.
Or none of the workers have a means of communicating, so you don't know who other workers are in order to like unionize or whatever the fuck it may be. But if you're just like an anonymous worker who's logging on to do if you're one of these guys who download these apps to do like the surveys, and it's like the ad is telling you can make $100 an hour doing surveys, but then you download the fucking app. You download the app, and then it's like boom, because I've downloaded this. I'm like, there's no way solitaire. Let me play solitaire for money, and then you download it, and it's nothing but ads, and it's like you play solitaire, you made 0.003 cents off the game. It's like, oh, sure, if I play solitaire 24 hours a day, if I run a bot doing this. But it's like, There's the reason that they're paying so little is because they're just running mass advertisement. This isn't a W-2 job; it's a 1099 like subcontracting job. So it's whoever's willing to do this. It's like you don't have to.
But again,
that's why they're paying so low. It's not because the market is so
No,
like
it is. You have Amazon
taking advantage of people.
No, you
It's
have
about
Amazon.
companies trying to pay as little as possible as they can. It's
as a
not
company,
it's not
you have an
about the market,
you have a
this is the price.
responsibility. You have a responsibility. Hold on.
Your responsibility to be a shareholder is paying as little as possible.
Paying as little as you can is part of the market. We're talking about a competitive.
Yeah.
You don't think Amazon?
Labor, baby.
You don't think Amazon and Google? Hold on. You don't think Amazon and Google are competing with each other over ads? You don't think that they're both advertising to people within this niche? I agree with you, Ollie. There is potentially, like when I said there's only two possibilities. Either there's a massive glut of workers, which obviously that's the issue here, or you have some kind of like a hidden kind of a collaboration, which I see no evidence of. There is a potential third problem, which is that you're controlling for workers who are so fucking uneducated and so stupid that they are physically, like, they are completely unable to like even look at the plenty of other ads that are being like broadcasting to them from other competitors.
Temperature IQ human beings. Yes.
Okay, well then these people don't. Well, hold on. Okay, so hold on real quick. Or all the fucking like advertisements for above minimum wage retail or fast food jobs in their area. Sure, this particular person, I don't understand why you think this person necessarily, like the person that's ignorant and so uninformed. Like, what threat does this person pose? Going back to your earlier question, like, I don't have to.
Honestly,
I don't
if you want me to be honest,
person.
the main threat they pose is like mass annoyance and me having to hear fucking conservatives talk about how we have to subsidize the poor and all these food stamps. And we shouldn't be doing this.
This is
like,
bullshit.
Well, yeah, we're creating the people.
Just don't give them food stamps. They will go out into the world and realize they can get a different job if they're not making enough at this one.
Beg in the streets, and then you guys are going to be annoyed that they're
okay, well, if they make more money begging in the streets, then they should do that instead of this.
Well, they do, but then I hear about the annoyance of, oh my god, we have these beggars, we got to get them off the streets. We're putting up spikes, we're putting all this money to
we want to put up spikes. We put up
I'll let
spikes.
Gibbs go first, but then I kind of want to like jump in here and
I
just want to clarify something afterwards.
I want you to listen to the scenario that Ollie just described. One of the things he was upset about was the solitaire like thing. He said, "Oh, it was nothing but ads. I could play solitaire and make money in my free time or whatever. And I downloaded nothing but ads. I made like 2 cents in that hour, and that was predatory. It was just evil. It was terrible."
Let me just say predatory, evil, terrible, just
I'm
stupid.
Yeah, stupid, whatever. Those are the level. That's that right there. What you described is the level of difficulty of the task. It's like even easier. I would say solitaire is probably harder than the task. And when you talk about room temperature IQ, I'm saying room temperature IQ is too high for these people doing this task, and they're still failing them. Right? Like all you have to be able to do is click and like type and point.
We should just have children do these jobs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe we should. And that's part that's my point here. When you're going with this, you're saying these things. So you're sitting here and saying, "Oh, this guy," even in your own story, you're like, "Oh, I want to earn money, just some easy cop-out way. I want to just be given free money for playing solitaire." Even though
for benefiting a company like a pretty largely,
you wanted to give money. You wanted to get money for playing a game. Literally, that's what you wanted. For. And they deemed, and this is what Lactoid is saying. They deemed the market rate for that 2%. Or not 2%, two pennies. And so 2 cents. Okay. Now, if you were stupid enough to think that was a viable way to make regular income, then you know what? Go fuck yourself. I don't care. Like, you know who we can send this to? I can send this to go fucking like Africa or like Malaysia or something. Oceania. Yeah, they do. They do absolutely do this.
But they will if you mandate a raise in the wages.
They will build a call center out there, and that 2 cents, it'll be 1,000 pesos or whatever, and they're gonna be sitting there living like kings, and you're gonna be over here going, "Oh lordy, now I'm on the street begging." God damn, bro, like that's what's gonna happen.
I do want to move past this. Corey, you want to do a clarification? I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, hopefully just a quick clarification. So Lactoid, just to maybe provide a little bit more detail on the case. Like, so the case was, it seems like Facebook was sued, and it was alleged that Facebook had failed to provide them with a safe workspace, and so that's why I think they lost the case. And so I don't think that the mental health professionals are like legally mandated. I think it's just they don't want to get sued again.
Sure.
And so well, basically, like, so you don't care whether it's legally mandated, as in you're fine of like there's no mental health professionals at all.
Yeah. Look, Like
Okay.
like I've said, like everything these people reviewed, I've reviewed too, and I didn't demand a psychiatrist. It's part of the job, and it's part of the job that you agreed to. And if I got paid a quarter of what I got paid to do it, then that would be something that I agree to, and I stand by the things that I agreed to.
Okay, fair enough. And just another maybe clarifying something. So Gibbs, okay, I think you just alluded to the fact that whatever, have children do these tasks. Would you allow children to do content moderation as well? And Lacto, would you also allow that?
Content moderation?
No.
No.
Well, why not?
That's different than what like we were just talking about, like which like, and we can talk about children, but like,
Yeah.
Isn't that the free market there, Gibbs?
I can respond when Gibbs is done.
sure. I mean, I personally wouldn't let children. I think that would be the cutoff. I mean, I think that would be probably
That's government
Like,
intervention.
most
That's socialism
Sure.
right there.
Yeah, it is socialism. I would say that's the societal norm and be a bad business practice because if you start letting children do it, you're gonna get fucked by somebody, and then it's bad capitalism because
Fuck by who? Fuck by somebody. Fuck by who?
like I don't know, someone's gonna sue you for their kid watching some crazy shit, and then you're
Well,
gonna
why
lose
should
money
it be
by having to defend a
illegal?
lawsuit.
I mean, why should it be illegal?
Well, I mean, why should it be illegal? I mean, that's a whole
decided
other debate. But I mean, I'm just telling you from the business side.
No, let's say it's not. No. If it's not illegal, it's not illegal. Would you have kids do so? And like, there's no grounds to sue.
Probably not. I don't think they're educated enough
Or
at that
why,
point.
hon? You
That's
don't have
They
a
may have
But
higher
I thought these are
16
no
to
skill.
17-year-old
Like, it's
can't
okay.
do?
It's the same thing that we were just talking about earlier. I would think with moderation, you would at least need to have like the adult life experience, like be able to make a decision.
Why would you need that? Just to
You
say
just
that
set
this
the
is a
room
violation?
temperature IQ.
Sure.
Yeah, room temperature IQ.
I was
yeah.
also talking mainly about the task thing, but the moderation thing. Yeah, okay, well, fine with the moderation thing. If all they got to do is follow the rules, then yeah, maybe
They
like
get trained
maybe
into what
15 to
they
17
should.
year old. I don't think that like kids under a certain age like would like probably should be seeing decapitations. It's probably gonna stunt their mental.
Oh,
growth. I'm
I
sure
don't
mentally.
know. I mean, they
that's
can
bad.
work in a factory where some kid
Here.
can get decapitated.
Let
But
me-
like, okay.
let me give my answer. I just very emphatically said, like, look, I'm going to be held to a contract. I'm going to be held to an agreement that I make. But that's because I'm an adult. And within society, we have adults being held to the contracts they make because they have the requisite level of consent to contracts in a way that children can't. And so if you guys want to say, well, these adults are so incompetent that they can't consent to this work, fine. Take away their ability to vote. Take away their ability to choose to have sex with people as well. Because we don't let kids do that. Because we've deemed them to be so incompetent that they can't choose to do these things because they're not able to actually contract or consent to do these things.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Hold on, that's what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that for the same reason why I wouldn't let kids do this job is the same reason why I wouldn't let kids work in a lumber mill, why I wouldn't let kids choose to have sex, why I wouldn't let kids do specific like work in dangerous industries because they cannot consent in the way an adult can. I would be okay with an adult choosing to have sex, choosing to vote, choosing to work in a lumber mill, and choosing to click on tasks for 10 cents per task. That, like, if you're an adult, you get to choose to engage in that. And if you're so incompetent that you can't do it, fine. The state will infantilize you, take away your right to vote, take away your right to choose to have sex with people, and you're not allowed to work any jobs, and you got to go be a ward of the state.
Sure.
One or the other.
Breathe, Lacto. It's going to be okay. All right. So I wanted to jump in here and try to move this thing in a few different directions. First of all, God, there's so much things I want to respond to, but I will say about this documentary, I'll say something that I really disagreed with. One part of the documentary, this is the Facebook half, right? Talking about like how they sent. So in case the audience who didn't watch this documentary, but the link is in chat. They sent an undercover individual. They are part of the journalist team to be part of Facebook's moderation team. Facebook was subcontracting the work to Accenture, which you probably heard. Like you've heard that name before. And this happened to be in Portugal. And they wore a hidden camera and to show us what it was like. The one thing I really disagreed with, and actually there were some other things I disagreed with, but this is something that bothered me, was when the documentary talked about like turning these individuals, these content moderators, into machines, right? And there was a negative implication. Basically, Facebook has a whole list of rules for moderation, right? And people were disagreeing with these rules. They seemed nonsensical to them. And like the narration of the documentary, it says like, yeah, well, the goal of this is to turn you into a little machine. But I mean, you can look at it that way, but like, it makes sense that Facebook and all these platforms would have consistent moderation, right? They set rules, whatever those rules may be. They may be unfair or whatever, right? But they are applying them consistently. That's what we want. We've talked about this with Twitch, you know, how they don't do this all the time, right? Like that's a good plan. Even if it's like something I would disagree with, at least it's consistent. I can work within those rules or choose to work without those rules, right? And suffer the consequences. So I didn't like that, like at all. Like I don't want some person who happens to like be more religious, right, seeing like some image of a sexual nature that falls within the rules and saying, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this, and so I'm just going to block this, and maybe I'm going to ban this user or something like that." That's not right. So it's something I just kind of want to get out there. Back to the heart of this, though, in terms of training. In terms of paying these individuals, one thing that really wasn't covered in the documentary so much, I don't think it made a good job of like driving this point home, is that, but they did a sort of at the end, is that so much of AI, artificial intelligence, as you know it, is like smoke and mirrors, and that like so much of it is humans actually going in and correcting these machines because they can't actually accomplish the task, right? The goal is of all this training that we've been talking about, like these human trainers, is to one day that the models will be strong enough that they'll be able to accomplish these things. But as of now, they can't, right? Good example of this, Amazon walk in, walk out of the grocery store, right? Just like it was called Just Walk Out. Like that's the technology they had. Amazon said, well, we have these stores and we have like a bunch of sensors and cameras, right? Like the most high-tech storage you can imagine. And if you're an Amazon customer, right, you'll have the Amazon account. You can just walk into the store, grab what you want. There are no checkout counters, and you can walk out, right? And then the automation, it watches you do it. The computer, the AI that we've invented, watches you do this, and you'll automatically get a bill. Turns out they don't have this technology. They're working on it, right? And it was completely defective. Just you can look this up yourself. Just Google it. Just Walk Out stores, completely defective. And instead, they had over, I believe the number was over 1,000 people in India. They were just watching the cameras and watching people do this, like you know, go to the stores and then tallying up the bills, and then those were wrong any which way, many of the times, right? It was a complete mess. But this is not a unique case, right? Like this has been a lot of AI, and where it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think from a fraud perspective, I think maybe my conservative friends might be a bit more sympathetic from that end, and that this isn't actually what they're being represented. And anyway, so these workers are part of this, and that like these are the humans actually making these things run because they're so faulty at this point. So I'm almost to my point. Our friend Aiko talked about like how he joined a service from Amazon called Mechanical Turk, right? That name is, I think maybe Aiko probably knows the history of this name.
Yeah, of course.
The Mechanical Turk was this like it was a contraption, right? It was a machine that played chess, and it showed like a Turk. It had like a figurine, like a doll of a Turk, right? And he would move around the chessboard pieces, and it could play with other human characters. This was in the 1770s, right? This was like revolutionary times, right? Like this thing was like taken around Europe and America. Like Napoleon apparently played against the Mechanical Turk, and Ben Franklin did. Like this is how old this thing is. And it was in this modern marvel, right? Like this. Look at this machine. It can like play chess. Like it like beat people sometimes. It's amazing, right? And you could see the insides of it, and it was just like this, like all these like mechanics as gears, right? And somehow it ended up it did this. Except what it was actually was an individual, some sort of chess master, buried inside in a secret compartment, and then they were sending signals to him, and then he was moving the pieces along, right? So relating to AI, yes, it actually makes sense. Mechanical Turk for the Amazon. It was people like Aiko, right? Or people more desperate than Aiko, who were making AI run behind the scenes, completely separated from you. So where I'm going with all this, right, it's a long way, and I do apologize, right? But this is our multi-billion-dollar industries, and some of them even not even quite. They're promising to be multi-billion-dollar industries, but still, right? Billion-dollar companies, and who have this product that they believe will be so incredibly profitable, but it's off the backs of these like individual workers, and these people like who are so critical, right? More critical than you think, because again, that AI isn't actually there. It's not doing what you think it's doing. So critical to the task at hand, yet they can't get a proper salary, right? To live on, to come close to living on. Like that is like outside of the realm of possibility here. And I think like this. I mean, this is why like I'm for minimum wage. I'm for minimum wage in general. Now, this is contracting work, I think, which is part of the flexibility. So that like gives me pause, right? At least in terms of the regular tasks, like defining who is a human and all that, right? That's different from Facebook working as a moderator. Facebook uses contractors, subcontractors, so they can have some distance away from their workers, and so they can treat them worse and pay them less. So I'm against that. But for the in terms of just the contracting deal, I think there is advantages to having that level of flexibility, like we were talking about previously. Right? I think there's definitely advantages there, and part of those advantages I think will end up being that you get lower pay. But how low should that pay be, especially since these companies are making so much money? Like our friend Ali was making this, basically making this some case of like social responsibility, but like that's not going to work from our conservative leaning friends here, right? They don't give a fuck about that. They don't care. Right?
Well, I was getting for irritation. I want them to be less annoyed and have happier lives. It wasn't even them being responsible. It was like, let me make your life easier.
No, but the market is going to correct for that. The market will correct for that.
It stinks of communal responsibility, though, right? Caring about your fellow, and they don't care, right? It's not going to be an argument that they find persuasive.
All right, let me here. If you're bleeding heart, and you're like, well, I just want people to have a better life. Fuck you. Okay.
What was you, not them?
I don't agree with you, but at the very most, you should then say like, well, we should have some kind of UBI or government assistance for people generally. Well, hold on. Because the last thing you want to do is use the government to interfere on the allocation of supply and demand. It's just bad economically. It's just not good when it comes to allocating the workforce. If you want to just say like, well, I think people deserve more, we can disagree. But then you should be saying, well, I think there should be like some safety net where people get like some kind of government money.
Your argument is that we shouldn't have the government impose like a minimum wage or a livable wage, whatever that may be. But however, we should like take the tax dollars and then do UBI instead, which is going to be a lot.
Well,
So
I
you
want
want to give money
that
people
he's
to
using
do
from a
nothing.
conservative point of view, because what he's saying is that with a UBI, the government is just putting a lump sum in everybody's pockets and then is doing nothing else to distort the market aside from that. And then the market decides how it wants to respond to that UBI, which I understand why that would be a more free market. preference.
Right. From
Oh,
again,
understood.
from like the science of we've talked about this last time. The science of economics point of view, there are certain things that are important when it comes to allocating.
Science.
When it comes to allocating resources within a market, and believe it or not, we have a market system. So we're just gonna, unless we want to move to like a full on fucking
Listen,
command
I did
economy.
talk to-
We have a market system.
You make this seem
I
like
talked to an economist,
as a way to save capitalism.
And a market system has certain rules. One of the rules is supply and demand dictates what people should be doing. What you guys are elucidating is not necessarily like, oh, this should be,
Right.
that this should be prioritized or deprioritized more than what it currently is. You're just like complaining that you think the people who do this aren't treated well enough. Well, if you think that, at most, again, I disagree with this because of libertarian reasons. But at most, you should just be in favor of like some kind of government assistance to people who don't make a certain amount of money, as opposed to compel like certain positions to pay certain amounts more than what the job is actually worth. Because what you do then is you create a market distortion, and it causes there to be disruption in what the actual efficiency of that job is. And it prevents the free flow of supply and demand, which is what drives all market interactions. All market interactions,
I think
whether it
it's
be
so
money,
funny.
whether it be
But hold on.
money or sexual or
I
otherwise,
think
social,
it's-
everything is driven by supply and demand.
I find it hilarious that like the average conservative and a studied economist, like with a degree and everything, have the exact same like talking points, and like you have the same knowledge as you can just call yourself an economist if you want.
Well, I understand because look, I'm citing the science here. Now, the moral question comes.
Science.
The moral question comes. Do I owe these people shit? Right? That's a moral question. That's not a scientific question.
Well, I'll answer the moral question.
Morally, I don't owe them shit. I agree with Gibbs.
Yeah,
I don't owe them shit. Right?
Like I said,
but
we
you
don't care
guys,
about that,
right?
right?
You guys might say,
Hold on.
well, yeah, we owe them shit because they happen to exist. Therefore, blah blah blah, whatever. Sure, but don't respond to that by artificially
also-
distorting the market.
And don't forget, in case you might have forgotten, Lactoid's pro-life. That's very important to him, right? It's very important to him. But like, as soon as they're out of that,
I
fucking
wouldn't
room,
consider myself
I owe
pro-life.
them nothing, right? I owe you nothing. You will get nothing. Good luck, sir.
Well, hold on.
Go
On top
ahead.
of that, I'll actually even argue that in addition to us not giving a shit, which I think is the correct response, I will actually argue that it's the moral choice because it's going to be the most effective choice. What's going to happen is the market, even if we don't do the UBI, which I agree, if we were going to do something, that's a much better method than y'all messing with the market. Don't fuck with the market, because the way the market works, and this is why this is the more moral choice, is the market identifies a need. Then it determines the value for that need, and then that service provided. Eventually, if the need becomes great enough, then the value of that service being provided becomes financially viable, right? And so when y'all start tampering with that, it fucks the whole thing up. Right now, these people, these people right here, they're providing a need. There's a need for this service, right? Right now, we need to train these AIs. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to really object to the Amazon thing, right? And I think maybe if we brand it different, call it mixed AI or something, sure, that's fine with Prime's original point. Like, I'm not going to get lost in the weeds on like the fraud aspect of that. But I will say, how else do you train this? So currently, there's a need for this. And the third world will do it, and like the money to them, it'll be a lot, right? You could do it here, and then we're going to pay them an equal amount, and it's not worth that much here, but there's only a certain amount of need for this, right, to train right now. And eventually the goal is to eliminate that need. So you're already in a dying market, right, for the job. And that's already determined. So same thing with your homelessness. If these people become homeless, right, what's going to happen is if the need gets great enough, then the market is going to eventually provide the answer, and that's going to be much better and more efficient than the government getting involved and taking my tax dollars and distorting the market and providing a worse life for these people than what would eventually be provided.
But you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait for people to like break at their last straw. So like you're saying, the if the market finds a need, then the prices will adjust. I mean, we saw that with COVID when it didn't happen. We had a bunch of places shut down. The need for like grocery work, we needed grocery store workers to be working. Over the 3 years, there was no hazard pay.
And their wages skyrocketed. Yes, they did.
Their wages,
until inflation crushed them afterwards, their wages did go up dramatically.
Correct.
I don't, maybe in your states, but like Target workers were still making the 13 or 14 an hour that it was.
I can show you these graphs. Wait, I can show you these graphs. Wages absolutely went up.
Walmart, At Walmart
Yes.
and grocery
Yes.
stores.
Walmart,
Yes.
But I want
H-E-B,
to.
all
I
of
need.
these.
I need to.
I'll
I don't
send it to
remember
you.
hearing about any
Yes,
of this.
I
but
No, but
will-
they went up
I'll
to
shut the fuck
fast
up if
food.
that's the case, but I don't
Fast
believe
food
that
flew
happened.
up. Like McDonald's at one point, I remember McDonald's was paying up in some areas like $10, $15 on the premium.
Yeah, there
for it.
was
They were
an
so
increase in
desperate.
there definitely was an increase in wages because we weren't going to work from, right? So like that's the case. But hold on. So my here's the thing, right? This is difference in values, and we're going to run up against this wall, right? This is what we're ultimately charging towards, right? Slowly, but we're ultimately charging towards the difference in values. Okay, like for me, I don't give a fuck about a market distortion. I don't care, right? Like, look at the way our conservative friends talking about. Like, there's going to be a market distortion, guys. Like, oh my god! Like, could you imagine? There's not going to be a perfect, seamless, frictionless flow of goods and services, right? A market distortion exists. What are we going to do about that? I don't give a fuck. Whatever. I don't care. My focus, on the other hand, is the well-being of my fellow man. Right? Like, first and foremost, is that I have a politics based on compassion. And how do we best help them? How do we best deliver that? Now, my conservative friends, well, the market will do that, but like they're at the same time, they understand, they know, right, that there are market losers, right? They were talking about them before, right?
Yeah.
People who aren't properly trained, people who, for whatever reason, can't
The below
work,
average.
right? The below average, or just like
that
the,
will always exist in a society. Like you just.
or even the perfectly average who like things just didn't work out for them or whatever, right?
Well,
And they're fine with these people falling through the cracks because they don't want to have any government safety net for these individuals. Good luck. I mean, they'd be sad, if their kids were starving. They would like donate to like a charity or something. But if like the charities aren't able to properly disseminate those resources and the people fall through, I mean, that's just okay. I mean, you were a market loser, and so I guess your kids are going to be a market loser as well, and it just is what it is. And it's just like a divergence in values. So if you think that the market really is all powerful, all good, well, not saying all good. I won't even put that on them. Right? I'm not gonna say that. But that is the primary way to disseminate goods and services of the society, and should be in the end the only fair way to do so. Then your focus is going to be maintaining that market, right? And getting rid of those distortions. It's a big fucking deal when it's a market distortion, right? You gave a person minimum wage. Well, I would have paid them $3, right? And they would have done it for $3, and they would have gone with less food, right? Their kids would have gone with less food, but they would have accepted it, and that's good enough. That in itself, is it justifies the fact that they accepted it, right? No matter the pressures, of needing to eat, right? No matter the coercive nature of it all, that doesn't matter. So if your focus is, just maintaining the market, then that's all they're going to care about. If your focus is caring about your fellow man and hoping and trying to make sure as many people as possible flourish, right? Then
it's not even flourish for the market. Wouldn't it be beneficial to have more people working jobs that have money to spend money? Like, that's all I'm saying is, like, if you have less people making money to spend money, like, you're just gonna have a suck on the
more people in these jobs. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
There's no need. You can't like put a square peg in a round hole.
No, wait.
You can't.
We're getting rid of the need. Wait. We're getting rid of the need. So, like, I kind of harp on, like, grocery stores a lot for fucking having automated cash registers, right? It's not that there was a need for automated cash registers. It's that it was cost effective. They could get rid of labor costs by not having humans working the cash registers. So then they implement these registers.
Why wouldn't a business owner do that though? Like, why would a business owner always make their? Hold on. Why would
it's not? I understand. No. Wait. I'm not calling them evil. I don't give a fuck. I'm not saying they're evil. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just fucking explaining the reality of the situation, which is, yes, the business owners of large chains that can afford to automate will automate. It's not that there's no need for these jobs. It's that we're able.
Yeah, but hold on.
Why are they?
You know what you're not factoring in?
Why are they doing
before you move on, he's also
cost effective.
And then you're also they're also creating
So
jobs.
what does something being cost effective get us? What does the dollar represent?
Okay, wait. So I mean, wait. nothing. Wait, it being cost effective for them just to get us, it gets us nothing.
Promissory note
Sure,
from the
here.
government.
Yes. So a dollar, and this is like this is econ again, 101.
Okay.
A dollar is only
Science.
a dollar. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got one after this.
Yes. This is a science. Sorry.
Okay.
Corey. A dollar is as valuable as the goods and
Where
services.
where in STEM doesn't say
A dollar is as valuable as the goods and services that it can provide. If you got a whole bunch of dollars, like the money itself is on a supply and demand curve. If you raise the supply of money, but you don't change the amount of goods and services that you provide, inflation goes up. Okay. And so when we remove people from doing work, like let's talk about the Industrial Revolution, right?
Well-
all the blacksmiths are out of business, right? Following the Industrial Revolution. What did those blacksmiths do when they were priced out, when they were forced out of the market by the big bad factory owners? All
They
those
work for the
blacksmiths.
factories.
Well, they worked at the factories, and then what else did they do?
Yeah. I specialize. I don't know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Because keep in mind, the factories were more efficient than the blacksmiths were individually. So you could
Yes.
get way more production out of a smaller group of workers in the factory than you could with a whole bunch more blacksmiths.
Yeah.
So now we have this group of people who's now unemployed, right? Because they were forced out of the job of being blacksmiths because their job was replaced by the factory that could do it better. And so what did they do? They went on to go do other shit. They went on to go do different jobs and to produce different things for society, right?
Yeah, sure, but
And this is
wait,
the
hold on.
benefit. This is the benefit
there's
that
a
happens.
difference between
No,
this
no,
and the
no,
industrial.
no, 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 no,
system.
no, no, no,
Yes, there is.
This is like
Go ahead.
when Gibbs said there's too many people in this industry. What he's referring to is when you have too many people in a particular industry, aka let's say blacksmithing, and there's a different way that you can free up a lot of that labor to go do other shit, right? From a pure, like we can leave like your bleeding heart aside for a second, just from a purely economic standpoint. You don't want to create a society in which, like, oh, the blacksmiths' wages are decreasing. Let's subsidize the blacksmiths. Because what happens? Now you keep you keep the world in an era of blacksmithing.
You're making a totally different argument.
Let me finish.
No, that's not
Let me
happening.
let me finish, please.
Go ahead.
You keep the world in an era of blacksmithing, as opposed to having a world which is advancing along with, well, let's have some
hold on.
factories and some people
Sure.
doing other shit, and
But
then
hold on, there's even
and
more
then-
to this. Though. There's
No,
another thing.
wait, Gibbs, wait, Gibbs.
and
wait.
yeah,
I'm not waiting. I'm going right after this.
and then yeah, that's
Oh, yeah,
fine.
No, you're
Okay,
not.
okay,
That's,
hold on.
I'm
Wait,
replying
wait,
to
but-
him.
No, I want to answer the other part of
Whoa,
this. He's leaving.
pause. Okay, sure. Okay. Hold on. Well, let Lactoid finish. He's been trying to get his words out, right? Gibbs wants to add on to that, and then everyone else can jump in.
Right. And so when you have too many people, like Gibbs was talking about, you have too many people doing this AI training thing, that's an issue. Well, what does the market do when it comes to too many people doing a particular job as the market requires, as the market demands, and of course the market being the consumers? Well, if there's too much demand, there's too much supply and too little demand, the price drops, which discourages more people from going into the industry. The same logic I used last time when it came to the price gouging example. There's a reason why we want prices to go up during an era of low supply. In the same way, we want prices to go down in an era of too much supply, because that's how the market reacts and adjusts the level of supply with the level of consumption. Now, again, if you want to talk about the bleeding heart shit, and like, I think all Americans have a basic level of living, blah, 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 blah. Sure, that's a different consideration. There's other ways to address that I can disagree with for different reasons. But at the very least, those reasons aren't economically infeasible. Those don't lead to waste. Those don't lead to inefficiencies and the loss of production that happens in an efficient market.
Go ahead, Gibbs, and then we'll go to.
Yeah, so there's also I want to point out that it's like a cascading domino effect in addition to this whenever you start messing with something like what you're trying to describe. And because it's caused in the economic web, everything's connected, right? That's why the peso fell when Japan's currency fell. They're like tied together because they're, I'm not going to go into all that, but so let's just use the grocers, for example, right? The grocers are now out of work because they're putting in these more efficient systems. As these machines become more built and mass produced, they become cheaper for other grocers to put in, right? So this is eliminating that job across the board. Now, what you're also not factoring is simultaneously while that's occurring, the people that are making these machines are having to hire people to increase production and or automate or build the land to automate. It's created a new market, right? And so you have all this market growing. Now those people have their own supply chain, which introduces all these things. So whenever you start trying to like increase wages in a certain area or like artificially inflate the supply, what you're doing then is not allowing the market to like evolve, and you're destroying supply chains downwind further and further, because each one of these has a stage. Now we need the iron. That's going to introduce mining in these countries. Oh, we need the nickel. We need whatever. We need the silicone production for the chips. Like all these things are going to be built, and then you're going to see stuff like, oh, as these things become more advanced, as they be like go further, they become cheaper. More and more people can buy, and then until you have the next big thing. So every time you go and try to stop this, it destroys it totally across the board. And then what you end up with is a dystopian hellscape, which is what y'all are going to do when y'all start trying to do these social programs and implement them there.
I need American companies to start admitting at this point that like without slave labor they wouldn't be able to exist. So like no, because when we're sending out cobalt to get the cobalt, to get the iron, to get the whatever, we're going to other companies paying as cheap as we can in order to get this. The regular consumer doesn't see the benefit. And no, like Lactoid, to your point, when you're talking about like the Industrial Revolution, when you had blacksmiths that were getting put out to work out, this is a skilled labor job. As a blacksmith, you have a skill that can translate into something else that you can turn over. However, with these jobs that we have that we're turning over, that we're switching, they are non-skilled, non-educated
Not necessarily.
jobs.
That's not true.
I'm sorry. What skill is being a cash register worker going to translate to?
Oh yeah, what skill is a blacksmith going to translate over to? Like you're skilled with an anvil and a hammer. What else can you do with those specific skills?
You're a metal worker. You can still make other tools. You might not necessarily be able to.
No. The factory churns out hammers at what 50 cents a hammer, more than you ever could. And they're better than yours. And they're better than yours.
What were the other jobs that blacksmiths did?
So the AI jobs aren't going away, though. So they're not relevant to a blacksmith.
It's absolutely relevant. It's a dying breed.
This was an example to describe supply and demand.
I have no problem with it dying.
This was an example.
That you're taking
Ali, hold on. Yeah. The skill is a very niche skill. The people who stopped being blacksmiths, they were either retrained on different jobs. Sometimes white-collar jobs, sometimes different blue-collar jobs, sometimes retail, like pink-collar jobs. Like there's other things that they went on to go do. So
there were other jobs that they were able to transition into. But if you're removing
that is irrelevant. No, that is irrelevant.
Job to transition into.
No. Listen. There are other jobs. A blacksmith is
like
a blacksmith.
No, there isn't.
I'll explain. Wait. A blacksmith is a very specific skill. A blacksmith, if they're done being a blacksmith because they can't compete with Joe Schmo's factory over there, what are they going to do? They're going to have to learn how to become a farmer. They're going to have to learn how to fucking code.
Yes, and this is someone who has the ability.
Remember the learn to code meme?
Wait. If you're a lawyer and you had that's why most people they
roll that example. If I'm a lawyer, what?
No. If you're a lawyer, right? And like now all of a sudden lawyers are put out of work. It's fair to assume that you have the ability and the skill to learn a new skill versus someone who never picked up a skill to begin with, right? Doesn't have any training and skills, isn't going to just pick up a new skill later on in their life. So like a blacksmith who learned and trained to become a blacksmith, if there's a turnover and now they're losing their job, there is a more capability for that person to pick up and learn a new skill.
What you're describing now is you're saying that like for certain professions, there are, I guess, like a human capital element of the people who get into this profession are like naturally intelligent enough.
Not even profession, no. That's why like
Hold on, real quick.
That's why, like liberal arts degrees, if most people with a liberal arts degree will get a job because you're able to complete a 4-year degree, it shows a level of like dedication,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
and so on and so forth.
This is what I'm saying. Like you're describing that there's a class of people who are smart enough to, if they get put out of their particular skill job, they're smart enough, they're capable to be able to learn a different skill. Now, I agree with you. There's certain people who are better at learning new skills than other people, but this is actually this is irrelevant to. This can control which group of people or which specific individuals are best at switching within a market system, but this doesn't actually necessarily have to do with what in the market is necessarily important or not, right? So it would be better if someone with no skills, for example, who's doing these point and click shit all day, to go to a different non-skilled job as opposed to do this non-skilled job if there was a glut in supply. Yeah, they can go do McDonald's.
Absolutely.
That would be better. They can go work at a fucking hardware store. That would be better because they're doing something now that actually is not as overglut in supply as compared to what they're doing now. So yes, there are plenty of non-skilled jobs that we do want to distribute these people among, as opposed to keeping them within one particular niche.
Exactly.
That is too many people driving the price down. And when the price gets driven down, this provides an incentive to people to want to go work at McDonald's or want to go work at Home Depot. Because when they go and do this, they see their wages increase substantially because those stores need more people, because they can't find people because they're too busy sitting at home drawing pictures around people for AI.
Yeah, and those jobs are disappearing. That's the whole
Hold on,
point.
wait,
of
now
it,
once
is to train
again,
to
you
make the
can't-
AI good enough to eliminate their job.
You're doing the tactic that is minimizing, which is why they feel that they deserve the pay that they're getting, is that you're minimizing the importance of what they're doing. They're drawing pictures around this thing, but what they're doing is building an AI model and helping to teach an AI
So that they
model.
can eliminate their job.
Yeah, so not only eliminate their job, but eliminate better skilled jobs. So like if we're out here training AI models on becoming better secretaries, potentially even like getting to a point where they are like paralegals or they're reading over legal documents. Well, now we're getting rid of skilled jobs as well. And if we're replacing the skilled jobs with AI and we're replacing the unskilled jobs with AI, now you're going to have skilled people who can't find work. So it's like the problem really doesn't end up reaching to you if that's the case.
Hold on. This is what you're describing now is irrelevant. This is not relevant to the documentary or the conversation. But I agree with you that
you're right.
It's not. But I agree with you that there is a concern that what happens when AI gets to the point where it literally can do everything a human can do but better, and there actually becomes no need for any human labor.
Well, no, I'm just saying to the importance. I think when that happens, of the job at the bottom, it's so important that they're training them to take over better jobs.
No, this higher level, technically, the person who mines the stone, which then goes to build the factory, their job is very important because if they didn't do it, and ultimately, the person who grows
isn't.
Oh, no, hold on. Ultimately, the person who grows the wheat, that feeds the mason, that builds the factory, that builds the cars,
these jobs are
yes. You're right. Yeah, hold on, please. We can infinitely regress and argue that every single job is critically important. But
correct.
In your opinion, you can argue this, but there is one actual thing which determines whether or not the important job has too many people. Yes, literally, whether the important job has too many people or has too few people. And if we get to the point where AI becomes powerful enough to replace all of our jobs, then I think we have to rethink economics. At that point, supply and demand, when we have infinite supply, it's post-scarcity, like Star Trek world. At that point, I don't fucking know what we're gonna do. That's entirely different. But right now, we're dealing with a scarcity world in which there's a limited number of resources, and we have to decide how to allocate those resources. And the market has been historically the best, most efficient way to do it, better than anything else.
Abaddon 666.
Abaddon, bro.
For Abaddon. Thank you for the Prime Gaming. For 4 months. Hopefully you are still around. Corey didn't remind me to take a look. And also Lawson. Oh wow, it gave me $20, like real American dollars. And this happened.
Lawson.
This happened a minute. This happened a minute ago.
Or
record for sure.
You can't prove the opposing side's point by showing that you don't even have to do you have to do your job correctly, man.
It says, I can't wait to tell coders to learn to mine coal. That's actually pretty good. Thank you for that. Lawson, awfully kind of you. $20 super chat. Really kind. Yeah. Getting paid in real money. Oh, wow. That's a big
Lawson's
a big
a
upgrade.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. No, Lawson's cool. Thank you so much, Lawson. He's been a kind supporter of the community. So I wanted to there's something I wanted to say. Oh, one thing I wanted to add quickly before we get you guys touched on this a long time ago. But hey, if you up the wage of the workers, what they're going to do? They're going to move to other places. They're not going to move as much as you think they could, right? If they could have avoided the United States altogether, I think they would have. I don't think they'd offer a single job here. If they could have. The reasons why is that there's limited number of places where you can actually do this job, right? You need a place that has a country that has significant internet infrastructure, along with a significant penetration of computers to the general population, right? people who can do these skills, like stable connection. So there's not you can't just do that anywhere. To be very clear, right? There's only a limited number of places where that's possible. And then I think among those places, they pick the ones with the most lax laws in terms of employment and provide. Like I think there's a reason. I don't think they provided this in like France. I don't remember that was the list of nations that they provide. They have internet. Why didn't they go to France? There's a reason for that, right? So just putting that out there. But beyond that, I am not like completely unsympathetic to like Lactoid's arguments, right? I don't want people to feel that I think that Lactoid is being like illogical or anything like that. I think he's being very logical with how he's handling this. But my feelings of the market are vastly different than his, and its primacy in terms of like my political calculations is just completely different. Once again, my politics is based out of compassion. Like if the market actually provided better outcomes for
it does, Prime. Why'd they pick France? Why'd they pick France? Right. So France provides those. So
they didn't use French.
They did. Okay, so where was that? Where was the center in the Facebook moderation portion of that? It was in Europe, right?
Portugal.
All right. Well, I don't know if Portugal's got universal health care. Let's look that up. But I think they might. Portugal.
It's Europe. They do.
Okay. Let's just assume
spoiler alert.
But anyway, so the reason why they did this is what happens is that company put a bid out, right? Facebook picked up that bid. This company said, hey, we pay our taxes here. Universal health care is paid for all these people. They're getting all these needs from the government. Our taxes are being paid. We can do this much. We can do this work for this price. And then the workers, the contractors came in there, and that's what they're paying them. And these contractors agree to the price and if they continue to work there, right? So now what has happened is these people even have the social programs in this country, right? And they've already been paid for it. And the market is determined, even with the social programs for these people, they don't deserve this much money. Like, so even by your own metric, they're still, even with all these programs provided, they're still not getting paid anything because it's not worth it.
Wait, hold on. I don't have a problem with the Facebook that side. I'm actually a lot more sympathetic on the Facebook side of that documentary. Right, they were being paid a minimum wage. Yeah, they were being paid just above the minimum wage.
And in Europe, where they were getting social benefits on top of above minimum wage pay, so it's like it may have equaled out for them.
Thankfully, we have a state that taxes people like Lactoid and Gibbs, right? And distributes that and takes care of these individuals. I'm glad they have it, right? Yeah. And so for that situation, I'm actually okay. In fact, in terms of this is why I think I was like torn in terms of like this pay disparity because I think there's something to be said about like billion-dollar industries that like are fine with that we have a society that's fine with these massive pay disparities within these industries, where this money never seems to find its way to people who are at the bottom, but yet critical to the operations of these industries. And I think there's a problem there. I'm not sure the best way to fix it. And I'm okay if that's not necessarily through like directly increasing their wages, right? Like what our friend Lactoid said previously, talking about like a UBI, right? If that's the way you want to do it. Like I am more agnostic as to whatever method we use to take care of our fellow men and women. But yeah, what I'm not okay with is these economic disparities where the rich just get richer and the poor just get poorer. And we can say that, well, the market says so. And so it simply must be. And that simply is the case, right? And I guess you should dig yourself out of the hole, right? There's all kinds of reasons why you might be the type of person who's doing these types of jobs. Somehow pull yourself up by the bootstraps and make life better for you. It happens, right? They make Hallmark movies about that. It does happen. The vast majority of people are simply going to fall through and be a misery. This is what the market ends up doing when there aren't guardrails for the market. So I'm fine, again, with having friction in the market. If that friction equals a society that is far less immiserated, right? Like it's a friction on the market. If I regulate that you can't put the poisonous runoff from your factory into the river, it's so much cheaper. It's a friction in the market. You're increasing the price. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'll always be okay with that. And these two will agree, especially if it's like it's their water supply. They'll agree. Oh, maybe that's not a good idea, right? But when it comes to the other places where where this friction occurs, they'll get rid of it. And then what that equals is people are immiserated. People who can't feed themselves, who can't provide for their children, just a worse off society. And I guess we just have to hope that charities at some point will be able to handle it. I guess if we don't tax people, they'll give more to charities, I guess, and that'll solve it.
UBI
Like,
is just
it's like, again, it doesn't have to be UBI. I don't, like I said, I'm agnostic about it. So if you're saying, if you got an argument against UBI, that's fine.
no. It's not even against UBI. It's just I think people should need to work, like in general, like they should be working, and like we need people to work, and like they should be paid. Like that's how you should be making money. Like that is just, and I think people want to work, and they're like we're just stripping away their abilities to work. That's all I'm like, yeah.
So why don't we wrap up? Hold on, why don't we wrap up here? Okay, why don't we wrap up here and move on. So anyway, thanks all for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. If you support the channel, thank you to our friend. Why don't we just go down the line really quickly? Thanks, Lactoid, for being here. Lactoid, you're fantastic. I really do appreciate you, friend. So much appreciate you that I would really wish that you wouldn't ride a motorcycle anymore, friend. Like, I honestly, I'll say it again. I'd be heartbroken if anything happened to you. Like,
Look,
honestly, I'd be broken.
I think we all would.
Yeah, like, I've been struggling, and but here's the thing: if I can make it through this, then I know that I'm a born rider.
Corey did predict this,
I'm a
but
born.
he did.
He did the leg check. I posted the leg check in the group chat. But no, I thank you so much. If it's not going to kill me, it's not going to make me miss a Reverie session. So if you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid.
It's gonna make you stronger. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. It's gonna make me like nice and calloused. That's what's up. But if you like what I had to say, you can find me on Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to run down the rest of you guys just really quickly. Thank you, Ghosty, for being here. Much appreciated. Fantastic to have you. Appreciate your perspective. Thank you, Corey, for being here. You were a lot of fun, especially when you were yelling Gibbs, right? And questioning the science of economics. Thanks so much, friend. Thank you to our friend Ali, who was really fired up today. I love to see it when he is. I think he's a lot of fun. And I appreciate the different angles you come at. Thanks, friend. Gibbs, you're always like amazing, a singular human being, right? And one who I want forever. Please never leave me. That'd be a sad day for me. So thank you, Gibbs, for being around. Aiko, you made it. I was happy that you're here, even just for emotional support. All right,
Yes.
so I'm going to leave here. I want we raid Gibbs, I guess, right? Because Lactoid's about to pass out for the pain. So
You still working, Lactoid, or you take off work for a bit?
I'm still working. I'm still pushing through.
Work from home, or you going into the office?
I work from home.
The secret. Thank you, by the way, for the.
All right, fair.
Thank you guys. I gotta go. Have a good night.
Take
night,
care,
Ghosty.
Ghosty. Always a pleasure.
Yep.
I just want.
Like a true conservative, putting hours while
so-
injured.
We're out.
I want to say one thing, Lactoid, before you go. Okay, where you were talking about, on room temperature IQ and taking away the ability to vote and all that stuff.
Okay, all right. I know where this is going.
You've convinced me You convinced me on, the IQ test for, voting and all that stuff. Okay, but I think there should only be one question. The question is, do you drive
you
a
own a
motorcycle?
motorcycle? Yeah.
Like check at every voting poll booth, right?
Please be careful. Please just get rid of the
Yeah,
motorcycle.
no, please, just be careful.
I live to
I
ride,
think you
brothers.
should-
Inshallah,
I
you're
think
safe. I'm
you
gonna
should
give
get
you
a
some
bigger one, like
Muslim
a Harley.
blessings.
That's what you need.
I'm getting a Kawasaki Ninja next year.
Listen,
Yeah, there you
get whatever you feel is proper. Just be safe on it, man.
Does
Yeah.
Kawasaki make cars? Could you consider that one? Maybe that would be cool, right? You can feel like a ninja. Like ninjas drive cars too. Don't just drive motorcycles. I don't like.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with me and my goofiness. But yeah, I'll be okay. I'll be good.
Yeah.
It is kicking my ass right now though. Like my leg is holy shit. Like wear a helmet. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna
Yeah.
ride
Yeah,
anything,
man, I'm glad you were wearing a helmet.
I do. I wear a helmet every time.
No,
Put on a
I'm
fucking
glad.
helmet because if I hit my head like I hit my leg, like there would be some fucked up. Yeah.
Electrode, are you for helmet laws?
No, I'm not
Oh.
for helmet laws, but I would recommend everyone wear a helmet, and I would advise that, and I personally wear.
Why not mandate it? What's the issue with?
Well,
like,
you see,
mandating a helmet?
the market fixed it. It gets rid of the dumb ones, and
Well, if
and
anything, it helps the market. More
the
helmet
smart
sales.
ones buy the helmets, and the ones that weren't smart enough to buy it. Well, guess what?
Well,
We don't have to. They're not taking my tax dollars no more.
If there's a
So,
helmet mandate, you open a
2 for
helmet
1.
store. Good capitalism.
Nah.
Nah, no. Oh, okay. Well, when you can make money off helmet sales, it's nah.
Nah.
So you're saying the lactoids of the world like solve the problem themselves by
Natural selection.
dying? Yeah.
I'll catch you guys later. Jesus Christ.
Good night, man.
Right.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and raid on out. We're gonna raid on out into my friend Grumpelstiltskin because he was kind enough to be one of our chatters earlier today, and he raids out into us as well. He's a good guy. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully next time I'll be 100% better, and I'll be much more in my A game. But I'll catch you guys later. Thanks. And for all those who subbed, gave follows, bits, all that good shit, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, as always. I can't type in this motherfucker's username. Haha, there we go. We did it. Ride safe, friends. Ride safe.
People who overrepresent different key positions inside of an organization. If they overrepresent